Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Welcome to tradertv.live. North American stock futures back in positive territory again this morning, trying to bounce here a little bit, coming off of big, solid performance from Thursday right across the board. All three U.S. indexes back in positive territory, although we are still on track for pretty hefty weekly losses for all three. We had the Dow up 434 points yesterday, the S&P and NASDAQ up 1.2% and 0.7% respectively. We'll have a look at these indexes again, see where we are overall coming to the end of this week. Inflation fears creeping back in this morning. More significant economic data coming out here as we speak. We had retail sales, April retail sales data here for the month of April. As I mentioned, expected 1% was flat, completely flat. We also had import prices, a significant number as well on the inflation side of things, 0.7 versus 0.6. Meanwhile, lots of earnings to talk about today. Airbnb, Coinbase, we had Dash, Disney, just to name a few. We'll touch on all of those as well. It's Friday, May 14th, 2021. TraderTV.live starts now. And there we go. Look at North American markets. As I mentioned, nicely positive here. We are seeing a little bit of selling coming in following those numbers. Again, that retail number dead flat versus a slight rise expected there. But NASDAQ still holding on to 1%. The S&P about 0.5%. The Dow 0.5% as well at this point. Everything nicely positive. You can see cryptos trying to bounce as well at the bottom there. Ethereum, nice move so far, 7%. We have Bitcoin back above 50,000. Trying to hold above 50,000 as we head towards the weekend. Sean has taken an extended weekend, so our friend Arun is sitting in for Sean today. Sean will be back on Monday, guys. Welcome to Friday. It's going to be an interesting session here as we get this move to the downside. Arun, we'll come right to you. What does this mean overall for what is setting up today?
Well, futures, right? Let's go directly to the futures. The first thing I saw here, when we were we bounced off the 30 area, the 41.30 area multiple times, on Friday, and it was also significant going back a few days or the day before as well. So the fact that we're above this 30 area kind of gives you some potential for the upside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off 41.15 as the point of interest here. If we can come down into the 20s, which was heavy yesterday, the mid 20s yesterday was decent support. So we're going to use the 20s, see if we can find a long around the 20s, 25, maybe low into the 22 area. If we can find some support there, I think we have the potential to go. It is set up to go, but like you said, the number just came out. It kind of changed the game a little bit. If we take the 15s, I think you've got to consider the downside as well. But for now, let's just keep an eye on the upside, potential longs. But again, the market is moving. It is moving fast again down to the mid 20s, and we'll just keep an eye on that. A lot of time left before the market opens, and things can change very quickly. So we'll just keep an eye on it for now.
100% there, Arun. Glad to have you here. I was gonna make a joke. If you guys were watching, first of all, the evening show, Sean and I were both long in Coinbase. Off the bottom and took it. I took some out at like 257 off a 250 off a 250 bottom piece there. It was like 52s or so, and then was trying to talk Sean into holding through 260. And then we sort of joked, it's like, yeah, if it goes to 275, he would resign. Well, Coinbase is at 275. Sean didn't resign. He's just off for the weekend. Strong move. You're seeing the entire crypto space bounce a little bit. Now, I say that as Ethereum teeters around that 4,000 mark, and we'll get into some of these earnings as well. And Bitcoin just still at that 50,000. So a bit of a bounce back. Coinbase had earnings. They weren't exactly the biggest blowout in the world, but there were some positive notes that came out of the call. And clearly, the market likes what they see here. You're seeing movement in square to the upside. A lot of those names that were beaten up have made a little bit of a bounce. I'm telling you, like even Bumble is up today, and Wish as well. I can't really find too many things that are negative, so that's the start to the day. You've seen how it can reverse rather quickly, but it looks like we're going to end the week pretty well.
Yeah, it should be interesting here, guys. If you missed it, again, that retail number missing ever so slightly, dead flat here, 0.00%. On the month for April versus 1% increase as expected. The import price number as well a little bit higher than expected, 0.7 versus 0.6 month over month. So we are seeing some selling coming in to start things off on a Friday morning. Before we get to any further, let's get over to the desk and say good morning to Miss V.
Hey guys, happy Friday everyone. I wish you a wonderful day and to finish this trading week in a positive territory. Also guys, please be kind and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Let's get it started, Brandon.
Let's indeed get it started, guys, with a look at the top 10 traders list from here at Day Trade the World from Thursday. Lots of volatility in the market. That means lots of opportunity here. You can see 75,000 number one, a whole mess of different markets here, including the OTC markets, some futures action there, the CME. NASDAQ, New York, OTC, number 2, 51,000. Same story, number 3, 40,000. Look at Brazil there, the BOVESPA and some pink sheets, 40,000 at number 4. So as volatility increases, lots of opportunity still in this market overall. This is going to be a little bit interesting here. We were seeing some positivity coming back in as we sat down here this morning, but especially for individual names coming off of earnings. But this appears to have changed the story here, guys. Do we kind of lean on, you know, some of the earnings reports that we saw that did miss expectations? We had a few that were, you know, down coming into the morning, or do we look at, you know, some other names that we were talking about maybe earlier in the week here? As far as things that could be moving southbound today?
Well, it's not to pick on anybody, but you do have a couple of negative earnings that came through, and not necessarily all that bad. I just got into a small cap that's probably LFMD. I think that should be down the list on our watch list, but breaking the bottom there. So we'll get to some of those positions a little bit later. But you know, Airbnb wasn't even that bad, and I think that's one that I'll be watching today. I jokingly said I couldn't find anything negative, and I was sort of ignoring Disney on purpose there, because when we're going to talk about this, if you're going to look for something that definitely disappointed, Disney is going to be at the front of the list when it comes to earnings, and we can talk about the details a little bit later. But their ARPU was not exactly, revenue per user was disappointing, especially when you compare to Netflix. So, you know, with that and with what you would think would have been a good reopen play, especially with, you know, the CDC lifting the mask restrictions and people getting out and about and getting back to normal. Lots of people, I would think, want to be getting out to Disney World, but you know, it's the streaming numbers that were a big time disappointment here, and the inability to hold 180 going into earnings. We're now staring that 170 mark, and on the daily there's not much till 160. So I don't want to be negative about Disney, but it's hard to look at this environment. And if we're going to give back these gains, you know, I feel like people might be trimming Disney. And we talked about this with Mark, and it's not to double down or anything on it. I love it. I own it. It's just Disney looking weak, and had this fear all week long that this could be the case.
Yeah, you know, Disney, I do like the idea of Disney on the short side. I'm just looking from the technical perspective, not so much anything else. If we can get above the 175, 170, 150 into the 172 area, anywhere in between, if we can kind of get up there and slow down, I'm open to the idea of shorting this with 173.50 as a stop. I want to stay away from this 170 area. It has very high potential to actually just snap right off of there and go up. So the further away from 170 I can get before I can get a short, the better it is for me if I'm going to put up 173.50 as a stop. Again, 169 has bounced twice now. So that's something to keep an eye on. That's the main reason why I want to stay away from that. So if we can just bounce a little bit, for sure. But at the same time, I'm looking at AMD, I'm looking at Facebook. They're all not looking the greatest right now. It does look like tech is starting to slide a little bit. The market is going, yes, but tech sort of seems to kind of lead the market recently anyways, whether it's up or down. So keep an eye on tech for now. AMD, Facebook as well, Microsoft as well on the short side.
Yeah, AMD in trouble over the past couple of days, continuing its move to the downside. It broke that really significant level, actually closed in the gap if you go to a daily chart from yesterday. So not looking good for some of the semiconductors. Let's bring in Mark Roberts here, president of Sun Lake Strategies, get his take on what to expect on Friday. Going to be an interesting one, to say the least, Mark. Good morning. We missed you on Wednesday. Welcome back. It's the end of the week, but this is setting up a little bit different from when we first sat down. What are your thoughts here after we get these numbers? All right, Mark, I apologize if you can hear me. We're unfortunately having an audio issue, it looks like. So just stand by. I'll throw you back over to Robbie, and we'll get that sorted out and bring you back in as soon as we can. Let's talk a little bit about some of these negative reports. Neil, you mentioned Disney there. I read this morning that they're going to work on expanding the capacity of their theme parks and starting to get more people coming back in, which has to be a positive. But overall, everyone focusing on this streaming number.
Exactly, and I think if you want to put them into the space of the reason why they're sort of like a recovery name and then stay at home, it was because of the strong streaming numbers. And you're going to miss expecting 109 on the new users, and obviously a disappointment there. And let's go to the daily chart here. Obviously, you had some of that pull forward effect, and obviously you understand this happened with Netflix. People are locked down. You're going to get more additions than you expected early on in the game. So they were already, I'm not saying you're sandbagging, there were already lower expectations coming for that from that user number to begin with. So to miss there, already not good. When I talk about that average revenue per user, it's almost in just under 3 times as much what Netflix is pulling, and they're like 14 or something like that, and Disney is about a third. But you have to consider Disney's charging less, right? So, and look, I'm a Disney Plus user. I love them here. It's just there's a lot disappointing about this number, and you're really hoping that this reopen is going to give them the bump with the theme parks getting back online. They're going to be last when it comes to it seems like when it comes to the cruise lines, and we've talked about this. Its inability to hold these areas, and I'm looking for short today. I mean, there's no guarantees as to what positions we'll get, but anytime I see this much room into what is the next support, and if you go back to some of these lows, I'm talking about whether it's the January lows from some of the tech stocks, it was those March 6 lows. Once these levels started to break down, almost every single chart like this found its way down to that level, and I think that's the fear that you have with a Disney today, and then you double down on that. When what looked like it was going to be a strong market, I mean, across the board we were up 1%. When that reverses on you here, it's hard to be optimistic as the day trade goes for Disney. Now, I'll probably be telling you when it gets to 160 that I want to be picking some up for the long term because, hey, I believe in the company. And 5 years from now, I think everything is fine. But we're here to short-term trade, and it's hard not to look at this as a short today. I'm pretty sure the same thing here, Arun.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at certain stocks and you're thinking, oh, the short side looks so much better. Like I'm looking mostly at the tech stocks, but then I'm looking at the futures going, I still kind of like the long side on the futures. Until we can break 41.15 on the futures, on the ES futures, I think we still have potential for an up day, continue this little trend that we've got going on overnight. So certain stocks, you got to pick and choose which ones you want to short. For me, Disney is one of them. I'm looking to short potentially, like I said, up to 173.50. That's just a technical read on me. Now, here's the thing too. If you get above 173.50, I think the longs open up to the upside. And given how wide the range is, you got to go with it. So 173.50 is kind of the inflection point for me. So if we can get through there, absolutely longs are on the board. But for now, pick and choose your stocks. I'm going to keep an eye on some tech, see if I can short those. It's counterintuitive, I know, but I'm going to look and try to short some tech stocks, but at the same time, go long on the futures, even though the tech is a heavy weight in the index. It's weird, but I'm trying to make sense of it all.
All right.
Very quickly, Arun, because you're talking ES though for your trade, so it's a little bit easier. Like if you were trading NASDAQ futures per se, like you wouldn't be necessarily saying, yeah, I like these 2 or 3 tech shorts, and I'm going to jump into the long in the NASDAQ future. But ES makes it a little bit easier to do, correct? Yeah,
it does make it easier to do, but you got to still understand that the top weights at the top of the index are still tech.
Yeah.
Right. Not as heavy as the NASDAQ is because NASDAQ, I think the first top 10 are like more than 50% of the index, but at least with the ES, it's a little bit more muted, but still they are the top weights in the index. So it does get a little counterintuitive, but I'm going to go with the chart and let the chart tell me what to do.
All right, let's take 2 here, Mark. Hi, good morning. How's your Friday?
Good morning.
There we go. We can hear you. Fantastic. As I was saying, a little bit of a change in feel here, change in sentiment possibly after these numbers. What are you thinking?
I have switched my sentiment. I'm looking at weekly 1-year charts for the Qs, for SMH, the semiconductors, and I'm seeing sell-on rallies until that shift reoccurs to set up for the longs. So now I'm going into highly defensive mode for the next few days.
A group that we were talking about, I believe it was Monday or possibly the end of last week, the chip makers still, not looking good here. We were just mentioning, an AMD closing yesterday in that gap now. If you go to the daily chart for the first time since it's been up here, not looking good. Is there one or two from that group that are standing out to you?
Actually not. I would say they're all suspect, and I'm taking them on a case by case. But the easiest way to make money is to find your positioning on the short side on the SMH because it's liquid and put a short out for now. There's just too much damage that's done, and every analyst can come out and defend. But for me, the chart speaks caution.
How important are those levels now that we see on some of those semiconductors, that kind of last line of support for an AMD, for an NVIDIA at the bottom end of the range here? If that starts to go away and we start trading below that, we could definitely see lower prices.
Correct. But again, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Typically, you'll get a number of funds defending positions. Remember, it is only the mid-May, and this may be just working off the excess that we've seen over the past few weeks. But for me, in the very, very short term, I stay neutral to negative.
All right, a couple of interesting earnings names to deal with today. A few to the upside, a few a little bit negative here. Give us your take on Disney, I guess, first. I mean, that was not a good number on the subscriber side.
Disney, I'm going to be looking to prune my long position, which I've had for a very, very long time, on any meaningful rallies. I think this company has got issues. I think a lot of it, whether it's sub-related or not, my guess is strategists within the company are going to be pushing for either putting ESPN or ABC out as a spinoff, but for the foreseeable short term, Disney will be sold on rallies.
And as far as both Airbnb and DoorDash, I mean, it was positive to get things reopened and see that people are wanting to at least travel a little bit more. Is there a point where we can kind of look at an Airbnb and say, okay, this is now looking a little more positive?
Yeah, I think those stocks have a different scenario than Disney. Airbnb serves a very strong function as we reopen, and DoorDash the same. I still think, even though masks may be off or at least more controlled in different spaces, people are still going to order. I don't think the online is going away. I think it's become part of our mainstay. And likewise, people may be a little fearful of going into the full serving hotel at this point. So Airbnb will serve that function.
I wanted to get your take on that. It was 329 million orders in the first quarter for DoorDash. That's a 219% increase, which is, I mean, obviously the pandemic, not a lot of people going out to restaurants, but that's a huge number.
Yeah, and you have to appreciate the fact that to see numbers take off more than that going into next quarter seem highly unlikely. But these companies are here for good, and it's just a question of how they branch out, how they best serve their customer, and how do you keep them in front of you when you're on your phone or your computer.
Real quick to wrap things up, Mark, we saw an amazing move higher as far as the overall market is concerned. From the March lows that we saw last year to all-time highs where we've been over the past couple of weeks. I think it's important that people understand, this is going to take, after such, a massive move from the lows to the highs, this is going to take a little bit of consolidation before the market wants to, figure out what to do next.
Yeah, I think that's A, essential, and B, I'm still extremely bullish going into the end of the year. But this correction or this pullback, if you will, It's not buy the dips, it's buy the dip for a trade. That's a little different than adding long positions. But I know a lot of money managers, or I should say wealth managers, that are still 25% in cash.
Mark Roberts, president of Sun Lake Strategies. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you for this once again.
Take care.
Great stuff, guys. Let's jump into upgrades and downgrades for a Friday. A few of those names we were just discussing with Mark on here that are going to be interesting, I think, today. There's Airbnb on this side of the board. We have ACB. We'll talk about that coming up, but Aurora not looking good, down better part of 10% at this point. DoorDash here, Snowflake. A Roku on this side of the board. We had Canada Goose earnings earlier in the week, and yeah, there's Alibaba downside today.
Yeah, I mean, look, I hate to pick on a Canada Goose there, but one of the ones that you got to consider is, and we've talked about this before, when you get those weak earnings or a negative number, the stock gets depressed and the chart looks something like, I'll go to the daily chart because it looks a little better. Some chart looks something like this to the downside. Then you get that upgrade, and it's just sort of like one of those. I don't read too much into those, whether it's the extreme like late change or just something gets depressed so far, it's going to be a big, eventually an upgrade. And we'll get into ACB's disappointing earnings, I think, at some point here. But I think that's of those names, I really do feel like we'll be watching Aurora probably the most, and I tend to play into the weak side of it despite the upgrade. Now we'll have to wait and see. I mean, just because you have a sentiment in one direction doesn't mean there's a trade, and we'll probably find that out with ACB. Very quickly, just because I want to show off a level here, and I know this stock is always moving. Well, last couple of days, IHT is always moving. But if you go into the 15 here, just wanted to quickly show a couple of days in a row, you've had this like $8.50 to $9 top. You had it in the late morning, and this is while we were on the show. You had this top put in lower high, put in at 810. It just bounced off of that one. If you ever know how we like to do this, wait for the actual consolidation off a short. It just tested higher and failed, and I'm gonna enter the position now. My stop is gonna be that 810. Not those 850s or those $9 that you have at the top. I mean, especially pre-market, you don't want to get too crazy here, but I like that consolidation. I like 810 as a bit of an out. So I've entered in this one. I probably would add one time. I wouldn't average in from 925 to 930 because that literally never works for me, but have a gapper to the upside that I want to be fading. At least this morning. We'll see how that one goes. That other one, that LFMD, really not moving as much, but it broke the floor. That's why I wanted to get in.
Yeah, you know, for me, I actually took a position, if you guys see it on the board there. I took a short at 126.35 on Apple. It's a small position, not a huge fan of going short while looking at the index and thinking long, but at the same time, I'm going to go with the chart. I think there is potential for it, so I'll just take a starter position and see what we can do with it. If it goes up to 127.50, I'm out. But for now, I'll take a look at the short side on Apple.
Jump into what is moving around in the pre-market. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you register for our absolutely free watch list. We send it out every morning before we come on at 8:30 Eastern. Guys, the first one, Coinbase. Finally got that report after market yesterday. They tripled their Q4 performance from the end of last year in Q1, so that was a positive. The company also said about 94% of quarterly net revenue came from trading fees, so not money on platform or increases from actual cryptocurrencies. So trading fees making up a big portion of this number.
Yeah, certainly. Now, the other thing to consider here, I mean, you're going to see them up 5%. Initially on that release, I mean, you did have a dip down at the close, past that 250 reference price, which was such a good long. Pretty much, both times it's gotten down there. Now, they also did state that they are, I think, 6 to 8 weeks away from adding Dogecoin to the platform. That's one of the areas for growth for them because, like you said, that 94% is going to be coming from those trading fees, and to have more issues out there is going to be important for them. One of the things I heard in the call, which I think people received well, and sometimes it comes down to honesty, is they said they are slow. They are slow when it comes to getting new issues, and that's one of their primary focus in adding new coins. and tokens to their platform to be available to trade. That's something that they want to focus on. That's what you want to hear when you have increasing competition, because at the end of the day, there's Binance out there who's getting investigated by the SEC. You've got a comparison that always gets made to PayPal as well. So I like what I heard out of them. Look, first of all, you've heard us say on the show that once it bounced off that 250 and found a bottom, we've been pretty bullish on the day trade. I'm not sure I've even had a short trade in Coinbase since that point. I'm not necessarily getting away from it today. I sort of go from that 15 into looking at this morning. Now, I had some notions of, okay, it's going to give me that patented every single time, whether we gap up or not. I'm looking for that first dip. I love 65s. Maybe would I have to consider 70s? Now I have to consider 70s because it's long and strong at this point. Heading towards a 280 break. I had 275 initially written down, but that was way too early. I'm not taking a breakout at like 8 a.m. in the morning or even before that. So I'm now looking for a dip back into like that low 70s range, probably to catch a bit of a bid on Coinbase. If it has to be a 280 break, so be it. I'd probably size down on the breakouts just because buying the dip at the open has always been a better strategy for me, guys. So for Coinbase, I don't have any ideas to go short. That can always change. Maybe we're sitting at 300 in like 45 minutes or so, and I have to start thinking about that, but that'll be a good problem to have.
I'm looking at Coinbase, and I'm going to try and stay away from this as much as I possibly can. This 280 break, I know Neil wants to go long there, but my hesitation with this 280 is that there's a ton of action here going back to yesterday between 280 and about 282, 283. So there seems to be a decent amount of trading from, 8 in the morning till about 10 o'clock, 10:15 or so. So I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to mark my levels at 285.50. If we get above there, then we have potential to go. So for me, nothing up there. I'm open to shorting this. If we get above 280 and we fail, then there could be a short there as well. So 285 on the upside and 264 on the downside. So I'm willing to trade inside that band, short close to one of them, or short close to 285, or long close to 265. If either one breaks, then you flip the trade and you go in the opposite direction.
All right, let's go to DoorDash next here. They reported, their report beat, basically right across all levels here as people get more vaccinations, starting to get back to normal across the U.S. and other economies here. They did see that huge number that I was mentioning with Mark, that 219% increase on placed orders. So 329 million orders in the quarter alone. That seems huge. DoorDash, though, a definite positive one today.
Look, it definitely is. It's hard to ignore it. Now, it's not going to seem like it when you look at the chart, but if you're talking about relative to some of the other recent IPOs, and it's not to pick on Bumble, but we showed you guys what Bumble looked like yesterday. You probably remember what that bloodshed looks like underneath that low when it broke these March lows. Now, DoorDash, on the other hand, didn't really go much further. We got maybe like 10% after breaking that March low, that 120 area, got bounced off 110, and now you're consolidating near the top. And this is a little bit more primed for a break. Now, I know you're gonna look here, and a lot of times with breakouts, I share these concerns. I'm overly biased in Coinbase. I know you're right about that. When you take a long break on clusters, Arun, you can run into some trouble. And then when I look at this like 125, 126 area that's gonna stand out, it's sort of the same thing with DoorDash. So as much as I want to be bullish, you probably have scalp trades in the 130. But I kind of want to be pretty aggressive on buying any dips that get me down into that 118 range. Now, I sort of wrote down like 118.75 was going to be like a starting point for me on Dash. I know we're a few bucks away here, like $5 or $6 away, but you always want to have a plan of action just in case. I want to be on the net long side. I don't want the breakout. It doesn't do a ton of volume. Like 100,000 pre-market volume on a stock that's $100 is not a lot. Coinbase, which is more expensive, is 2.5 times that in terms of volume. So that's one of the reasons why Coinbase, I'm a little bit easier to get in for smaller size on that first initial breakout trade because you can just let that one go. Dash, you're going to pay a little bit more percentage-wise in the spread. So you want to be patient with DoorDash. So I'm not taking a break on that Dash 125, 126, even though it might look pretty solid. I'll be buying pretty much any dip that I can catch down into that 118.75, maybe like 120 range. And once we've had an opening range, I think we'll be able to identify some breakouts. Now, I'm favoring the long side just based on what I see with that flush out bottom, and then it's one of the few IPOs that recently has done pretty well, hoping the market doesn't change that sentiment. I just noticed, Arun, we're right back up to 1% on the NASDAQ, and the ES sort of recovering after that 830 number as well.
Yeah, So that's the thing with the futures there. I actually mentioned the 125 area. In that area, if we can bounce off, I think there's a long in play. You can see me. I just threw an order out. I think for now, I think the longs are back on board. Yes, I'm still short Apple. I'm going to hold that trade because I'm going to say that's separate from the rest of it. But for now, I got a 41 and just above 30. I'm looking to bid there with the 15 stop, 41.15 stop. So it's about 15 points in risk. And we'll see how that one goes. And we'll see let Apple play itself out as well. Now go back to Dash. I've got 122 marked off. If we get below there, I think we have a chance to actually start moving down. But I'm also open to buying this as close to 122 as possible if we can get a setup there, down below 124, maybe into the 123.50 area. If we can set up, I think it's a low risk, high reward situation. You put up $1.50 in risk, but if it starts going towards a 126, like Neil said, there's a ton of action up there. But at the same time, if you're already positioned in, then you don't have to worry about trying to take the breakout at that point and where the risk reward is kind of not in your favor. So at this point, I'm going to keep an eye on sub 124 longs on Dash with a 122 stop.
Real quick, Arun, just maybe touch on the downside aspect of the overall market today as well. Is there a point we heard Mark say, he's overall kind of shifted his focus to the downside at this point from an intraday kind of shorter term perspective? Is there a point today, if we get below a certain level, do you do the same, I guess, and shift to a short aspect?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a conversation I was having with one of our other traders, and the move that we got above 4,200, I keep going back to that 4,200, is that we failed, we broke, we failed, we broke, and we failed again. The fact that we're struggling so much around 4,200 makes me think that there's a ton of distribution around there. And we've been, 2 days negative, 3 days negative in a row. And then we got that snapback yesterday. That was bound to happen. Dip buying, value buying, whatever you want to call it, that was bound to happen. So the aggressive move that you got off the open yesterday, and that was mostly programs. There's no way you can sustain that kind of buying with the kind of volume that you got to move the index like that. It has to be program related. So for me, today will tell you exactly how this market plays out because most of the programs have done their job and did their buying yesterday. So for me now, I think technically on the short term, we look like we may want to go up, but at the same time, that 4,200 is not that far away. Relatively speaking, it's about 80 points away, but given how the market's been moving, that's not that long. We could be there by the end of the day. So long-term perspective, it does look like we're going to be taking a break, but to the downside, when you want to look at the huge long-term, super long-term picture, I think 3,500 is where I would start to get worried for longs. So we have a ton of space. As the intraday day traders, that's way too big of a perspective to keep to kind of worry about because that's like 600 points away. But for now, I'm going to look at the long time and long on the 4130 longs. And if we get near the 4200s, I got to consider the possibility of a swing possibility of a short. And then, of course, any break below, I think today, 4,100 kind of opens the door for another move down to the mid 50s, mid 60s or so. But for now, let's just keep her kind of head on straight and just look at some longs.
Trade what we see, not what we think, right? That's the key. Let's go to Airbnb next. This is as messy as it gets as far as the actual chart looks for Airbnb after this earnings report. We're basically flat. I mean, it's up 0.5%, but they test higher, they test lower after market. It ends basically dead flat. So the numbers were decent for Airbnb. They were, talking very positively as well as far as getting things reopened, more travelers being able to get out and travel once again, but only now 0.3 guys for this one.
Yeah, this was a tricky one. I just update. I did take some of that IHT out now that it's tested like that 760 level. And someone saying Neil's going to short AMC today. Maybe, I don't know, but IHT feels a little bit safer. IHT, I should say, feels a little bit safer, at least for now, off of that 810 level that we were able to identify earlier. Now, you said it right. You nailed it on the head there. Airbnb's numbers really weren't even all that bad. I mean, you beat on, look, it's gonna be a loss, but you beat on you beat on EPS, and then the revenue number was actually pretty solid. I mean, if not nearly spectacular. We're dead flat. There's all kinds of room to get you into a break, at least up to like this 140 to 143 chop zone. And I came in thinking to myself, okay, well this should be a runner as well. Now we've got a bit of a spread here, and the volume's not exactly the biggest in the entire world, but this almost looks like it has to be a bit of a go zone for me. If it tries in this like 1, 2, 3 times off of like 133.50, if it tries to just slide down off the open on this low volume, this can be one to pick up with a tight stop. I'd be very concerned about 133 breaking. If you like the long side, you're probably running into some trouble. I don't know if you want to risk an extra $2, go ahead. But I probably won't be trying to do that on Airbnb. And I don't want to necessarily be short. But if we get below that 33, there's lots of room to the downside. And we've seen what happens when what you think is a good report and the stock doesn't get the momentum going into the next day, it can just absolutely fall like a rock, whether or not it's looking like it was going to be beaten up or not. Thankfully, that seems to not be the case. That's what it looked like when I was sitting down here today. And I think now that we're above that 135 and trending towards that high, I feel a little bit better about Airbnb. Let's see if I can pick it up in front of that 133. I don't love that break because you run into that chop, and the breakouts have not been the best trade lately to the upside for many of these names, especially the lower volume ones. You run into a lot of trouble with those. So let's look for long in front of that 133. Not going to give it a ton of room because I think there's too much runway beneath that price to hang on to it at the open.
For me, Airbnb, I just don't even want to look at this. This is just way too congested for me. You go up, you hit resistance at 138, for the long side at least. You hit resistance at 138, then you hit it again at 140, then you hit it again around 142 or 143. There's just way too much to the upside to even consider a trade like that. There's got to be cleaner trades. Yes, they reported, but like Disney, what was the other one? Coinbase. We're looking at other stocks that have better, I guess, less obstacles to get through. So I'm just going to focus away from Airbnb and look at some of the other ones.
Including, as you mentioned, Disney. Let's talk about Disney. They reported, not good on the subscriber growth numbers for Disney Plus. Big time move to the downside as a result. It was $3.99. So the average paid subscriber revenue per paid subscriber was $3.99 versus $5.63 in the prior quarter. So yes, people are getting back out, not needing to subscribe maybe to Disney Plus as much as they were going back to the previous quarter, but that's a big drop.
It is, and like we said, when you make that comparison, and they're going to be, and they should be, and they are being compared to Netflix, and that's just going to be the reality when it comes to streaming. So, they've set their targets in terms of like that 2024. They want those numbers over 200, that's Netflix to the T there. So when it's like 3x on that same figure, essentially for Netflix versus Disney, you're going to get beaten up, and it's a disappointment across the board. Mark said he was going to trim. I'm looking for a short. Now, ideally, it goes without saying, of course, you'd rather short at a higher price so that you can get out even lower, right? So it's going to be cheesy to say that if it gets anywhere close to, like this 173 area, I want to start, getting into a bit of a position. I do have a starter offer out there for now when it looks like, starting to creep into the upside here. I'd probably say if we get into that, previous wick low, that 174 and 175 range, that's where it's like give up the ghost, and at some point you can't fight these things forever. I want Disney to go up, but I'm going to be shorting on any strength here today. That 170 break, I don't know, it feels like a theme today that I don't love the breakdowns. I know they were fantastic yesterday, but there's a really big difference between shorting the bottom in Bumble and Wish versus like just taking out a 170 low on Disney, right? There's actual people that, I shouldn't say that. There's actual people that probably want to own Disney in the long term. Well, more than would want to own Wish, and I shouldn't be picking on Bumble that much, but that's just a bit of a different story. So you're much more likely to get a bit of a fake out. That's why I'd rather fade into a good price on Disney rather than just hammer the bottom like we were doing yesterday in Lemonade on their bad report. And the same thing with that Bumble. So I'm looking for the strength. We're about a couple of dollars away, but in the open, that's something that could easily happen at 9:30 and pop it in. And I don't want to miss that trade to the short side on Disney. We'll see what happens, but it was the top of my list. If I had to play weakness, it was unfortunately going to be what was a disappointing report across the board for Disney.
Yeah, like I said from the beginning here, 173.50 is my marker. If we can get up there and kind of slow down, maybe a short, but it does look pretty strong right now. The market's pretty strong. It bounced off that number, and here we are sitting at 41.33 on the ES. I am long, by the way, at 41.31. I did say I was going to get long in front of the 30s there. Apple as well, that's kind of out of the money, and that was kind of expected. I was kind of going opposite directions with the two trades, so one was going to lose at some point. Now, I want to point out something with Tesla. Tesla seems like it has some potential to the upside. It's the one stock that actually set up decently. I don't know how people feel about Tesla. Someone just mentioned Elon in the chat, so I just kind of pulled up Tesla. That 590 break could give you a quick buck, or not a buck, but give you a quick trade there to the upside towards 600. So if anybody wants to jump on board, I try to stay away from names above a certain price. For me, $590 for a stock is out of the question for me.
Tesla.
So I don't try to get involved in those stocks. But anybody who wants to take a look at 590 on Tesla, it does look like that break could be good.
All right, guys, we'll continue along here. Yeah, if you're just joining us a little bit late, that's Arun. You might know him from every single morning. He comes on around 9 o'clock to talk about the futures. Sean taking a long weekend, guys. He will be back on Monday. He didn't go anywhere. He'll be back. It's all good. Let's talk about Fisker here next, guys. Another one, big move to the upside after market yesterday. They finally finalized this deal. They've been talking about this deal with Foxconn Technologies as far as manufacturing their Ocean vehicle, among other things, going forward. So Fisker finalizing this manufacturing deal. It's going to include a U.S. plant by 2023.
It is. I didn't see any firm numbers on who was going to be paying the plant. It costs like $1 billion outlay, and I'm not sure the division of who between Fisker and Foxconn is going to be footing the majority of that bill. How it's going to be split up. Either way, this is news that the company has been waiting for. Well, the shareholders have been waiting for quite some time. And I mean, look, we can go over the daily chart of most of these EV names, and they're going to look mostly the same. You do run into some trouble, and it's not to say that every single spike needs to be sold off. But remember XPeng, we were watching that one yesterday thinking there was going to be a little bit of strength, and it was just, let's try to buy the dip on it, and forget about it. It was just heading to the downside, and you're averaging in and just getting smoked off the open instead of being ridiculously patient. So ridiculously patient to me, if you like Fisker off the open, would be down and around this cluster at like a 1025 before you had that flush out low on the 11th. Now, if it makes a break of 1170, that's a bit of a different story. I think that's scalpable. When I say that, you can get like that 25 to 40 cent type of winner on a top end break, and then you run right into this chop at like 12.25. I'm probably going to be looking for a bit of a short in that range, just because I kind of feel like if you get into that range, you can if it slows down between the quarter 12.25 and 12.50, it's an actionable area where you have some comfort, you know where your out's going to be, even if it's screaming to the upside, one of those rip your face off type of rallies that you'll see in this space, especially on some of the heavier shorted names. I like having a bit of an out and knowing that 12.50 area is going to be there. That would be the target range for a short. I don't necessarily want to go short off the open with it. I'd almost rather it go to the upside, but I don't love that Fisker long unless it's going to be a quick scalp trade or it's going to be waiting for it to bottom out. I did not have patience enough when it came to XPeng in yesterday's action. I just don't want to make that same mistake. That's the reason why XPeng was like loser for me in the morning and everything else was so fantastic. So let's see if we can't rectify that by liking Fisker only down around that. Like if it gives back, that wants to give 80, 90 cents away, fine. No problem there. It wants to make that boom into like 12.25 area. That's when it's game on for the short trade for me. I find like playing these right off the open, you're not forced to do it. You don't have to. So I'm going to sit that one out in this first little dollar range it's made in the pre-market.
Yeah, for me, Fisker, I have 1070 marked off, potential longs there, or a stop for a trade there if we can get a long. I think anything sub or as close to 11 as possible would be a good trade with 1070 as a stop. It does look positive. It's one of the few stocks that has some sort of positive bias, but at the same time, it's not in a great area for me to go long right now. I try to stay away from any longs until at least 12. So if we can get above 12, there might be a long there, but if we can get closer to 11, that's where I would prefer to get this trade with 1070 as a stop on Fisker.
All right, Plug Power next. Another one in positive territory here in the pre-market, guys. They restated. They mentioned earlier in the week they were going to do this. They were going to restate their financials going back to their full year 2020 financials. Anytime you kind of hear that from a company, it's almost assumed that something negative is coming, but it turns out it was only because of accounting changes they made going way back to 2018. So everything was basically the same as far as I can tell anyways on the restated financials here. But Plug extending its pre-market move here.
With Plug, you always have to be, and it's not a huge short interest. I think it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brent, I think it's like 12 or 13%, maybe 15 tops. it's enough that has to be one of your primary concerns when you're trading the stock, because a lot of times when you go looking at levels and how to play in the morning, you have to consider that sort of squeeze potential. And you talk about that with like your AMCs and your GameStops, but sometimes it'll apply to a plug power. These charts all look very, very similar here. Now, I'm just going to point out, and this is going to be pretty obvious to everyone, once you see this 26, you go back to the beginning of the month when we gapped down and have held that level ever since. There was one attempt in the pre-market to bust through it, and then it's been all failure several times through, especially a little bit lower. I just got triggered into Disney, so we got a pre-market position in here. I kind of know I like that 194 area for a bit of an out. I like that weakness. Now, if you can play into this like 26 on plug, all systems go. I look at that previous low of like 24 as maybe like your first spot where it's like, okay, if it falls down, you could do a little bit of a dip buy. This is more of like a ramp stock where you just want to play the volatility. Not get married to direction, not get married to the notion of, okay, I only want to play one way. I have to be hard on this level, particularly right here. Sometimes it's more about the pure momentum. Like normally I'd say you got to wait if this dips to the downside to pick any kind of a bottom. But I've seen these where it makes those moves, like shake some people out, get down to like a 24 before start running again. It's probably a no-fly zone for me shorting it until it tests literally that 26 level, $1 away. Or we actually can hold an offer below 24. I just feel like you have too much of a chance to get blown out of the water if you're sort of shorting it anywhere in that middle of the range. And you watch out for that short interest. So, the breakout kind of has already been happening here off of 24.50. Like maybe if you had that 25 and you scalped it to 40s, I wasn't looking for that because I got the shorts on. I got 3 of them right now, and I wasn't looking for the long breaks on something like a plug. I'm watching for 26 even. We get there, I'll try to put something on. If I have too many positions on, I probably don't want to be also managing a short in plug with its short interest.
I really like plug. If we can keep on coming down here, we're coming back towards 25 even right now. If we get into the mid 24s, so 24.50, 24.40, around there, I think potential long. There's a decent amount of action. You go back a few days, going back to late last week actually. You get a decent amount of support around this 23 and change area. So I'm going to put 23.25 as my stop. If we can get a setup below 24.50, I'm looking for a long there, risking about $1.30. Market, well, at least plug is coming back a little bit. Market is stable for now. I'm looking at a potential long here, sub 24s, 24.50 with 23.20 as a stop. You go back a few days and you'll see the support that I'm talking about. It seems to be all around here. So definitely looking in that area for a potential long on plug. Some people keep mentioning Mara as well. Let me just take a look at that. 23 even is what I put on Mara. I like the idea of Mara longs. It does look like it's setting up fairly well if it can get above 23. That kind of breaks the trend going back to the 12th. So above 23 kind of opens a door, gets rid of this action, the sell side action around 22.50. Again, we backed off around 22 even today. So if we can clear 23, I think you got to take a shot at the long there on Mara.
Right, let's go to meme stock land. We saw both GameStop and AMC reemerge. Lots of people talking about AMC, so let's get into this. They reemerged over the past couple of days as far as Reddit's Wall Street Bets favorites. We saw volume through the roof on both over the past couple of sessions. Big moves to go along with that to the upside yesterday for both, guys.
Yeah, look, and this is just, it's pure momentum with AMC, and you saw what happens if you tried to fight. Now, there were some good levels if you really, really picked your spots, and they're going to come right immediately to this 12.3. I'm not saying it's going to come into play here, but you watch out for that, like, morning high, potential break, and then dip, and then that's usually where we end up retracing to. And then you sort of put in this afternoon lower high, and this is the level that I shorted off of going into the closing show for a small success. Like, it didn't, I wasn't holding it into the close, unfortunately, but it was a small success win off that 1370. So I'm eyeballing that particular area. You have a chance of a break through that 1375. You're probably scalping it into what was that previous high, because I know shorters are going to come in at 1420. 100% that's going to be the case. You look for these dips. It's pretty ugly if you get below that 1220. But I have to feel like everyone's going to be looking at this chart, and the buy the dip crowd is going to be watching that 1225 and thinking about a 1250 area long. So you might as well put that one in your back pocket. That's what I'm thinking about too on AMC. If we get anywhere in that range, defend that 1225. That was the key. That was the key price in yesterday's action. So I tend not to look too much further back when you're looking at the squeeze plays and the pure momentums like these meme stocks usually are. I try to keep it to looking at, unless it's a ridiculously a significant level to the upside on like a 15-minute or the daily chart, I'm just thinking about what happened that previous day and what's front of everyone's mind, and that's going to be that 1225, both breakout and then support area. If we can get long in front of that, all systems go. I've seen this dip in the past. Sometimes it holds up right here at VWAP, and everyone's sort of piling into this long right now, let's just say, and it holds up and makes that run. In which case, not horrible for a break of 1370, because there are going to be shorters that are looking at both of these levels, 70 and 20. So you have a potential to have stops get broken at that 1370 area, and then you can get a bit of a scalp trade through.
Yeah, AMC, I've got 1375 marked off. If we can get above there, we have potential to go. I'm going to try to stay away from these kind of stocks. I know GME, AMC, they're hot momentum. I have a hard time trading that style. So I kind of just like the charts. I like the setup. Sometimes these momentum stocks, they don't really care about levels. They just gonna go. When they get going, they just go. So for me, I kind of try to stay away from these momentum stocks like AMC and GME. For now, though, I am going to mark off 1375. But at the same time, I know that it's got to set up properly for me to want to step into that and take a shot at that game. Back to the futures, though. We did just bounce off the 4130 again. That's fine. This trade is not meant to be a quick trade. This is kind of the style I trade for anyone who hasn't seen me trade before. So we're just going to wait this one out. First target I've got is 4145, and the stop is 4115 for anyone curious on the ESs. And the Apple position, we're going to hold this. I've taken the trade. I've seen something on the chart. I'll take a shot. I'm going to let the stop play out, and we'll see how this one plays, even though, again, we're going in opposite directions with that. And Disney just keeps on creeping closer and closer to that 173.50. So again, if we get above here, you've got to consider the idea of a long at that point, because that kind of gets rid of any sort of sell side activity that you were looking for a short. So Disney, 173.50, the closer and closer we get, the more and more likely that the long is in play on that.
It is getting pretty close. I just had a chance, Arun, there to scalp something off for a short trade, but initial entry point, not really at that point where I think I'm taking a 30, 40 cent winner. If it does slide from here, it looks like for now that 73 is held. If that doesn't, I don't want to be adding to this position. And the other one, with 8 minutes to go, there's a couple of names to get to, but I just wanted to, because a lot of people are looking at that IHT. Yeah, that was looking pretty solid, sliding down. It just held 750. I was hoping for a little bit of a break at that level. I had a bid down here in that momentum. Now it's putting to the test like this lower high. If it can roll over shy of that 8 even, then it's a decent place to be adding to it. But it's at that point where this is the last time I can think about sort of adding to it at all, because I do have a hard rule, of course, yapping away instead of just throwing the offer out, whatever. I mean, I just missed the chance to get 85s. It is what it is. And that rule about not getting in that last 5 minutes, averaging into something which is ramping up on volume going into the open, especially something that's up like 20%, and has shown that it can just open, break highs and halts. We know IHT is capable of that, so no averaging in or no adding to the position to the short side in between 25 and 30, but I just try to get some at 85 there. Usually when I miss a move like that, I don't want to get back in if it snaps back to the upside. So for now, it's okay, but probably just missed an opportunity to get a little bit of a scalp trade on IHT.
Yeah, that 850 over the past couple of days, big level for IHT if it gets up there. Bio-nanogenomics, another Cathie Wood favorite. Cathie Wood likes this entire sector, I guess, the genome sector. But BNGO reporting earnings, actually better than expected earnings for this one, up nicely here in the pre-market as well, guys.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it always does pretty good volume. Let's be honest about that. It's just like 18 million. Let's look at the chart here, because it hasn't been the greatest ride in the world. This is a pretty consistent downward trend in terms of selling off any major moves. All that being said, this is not like it's up 18%, but you're not actually at like some ridiculous levels. You sort of threw the previous low at $5, which is a solid sign for it. And the first thing I wrote down was literally just $5 on BNGO. I'm like, if it holds that 5 on the daily, you kind of have to like it to the long side, especially. And you're taking a stock which right now would be breaking a 5 quarter, and then looking at the last couple of days, saying, okay, you have tops in the 60, 70 range. That's a decent scalp opportunity. Now, you have to temper your expectations and being able to say, there's nothing wrong with winning 15 or 20 cents on BNGO. That's your game plan, which is kind of how I like to play it. Yeah, then I like working off of that 5, just to be able to get 10, 15 pennies here or there. If that breaks and we're holding lows below this like this chop zone, like the highs of in the pre-market yesterday, like 490, 485, I'd start thinking about shorting it. But for now, I mean, long off that 5 even seems like it's pretty good. It's at the top of my list to be trading. So it's entirely possible I might not get it. You can't be in a million symbols at once, but it looks like it's at least forming a bit of a strong base. It's that 5 that has to hold for Bionano.
For me, I'm looking at BNGO and going $5. I know, Neil, you're saying 5. I'm saying 5.30. So
fair enough.
It's a slight difference, but I just worry about earlier in May, we got a decent amount of support around 5 to 520, so I'm going to put 530. If we can clear all of that, I think the longs you have the potential for longs, but that's only 10 cents away. So, we're kind of, at this point, it could go either way. 10 cents up, 10 cents down kind of closes the gap there. So if we can get through 530, I think I'm going to consider the possibility of long. I've already got a position on the stock. I've got the Apple position, but I am looking for some longs. Again, Disney getting closer and closer to that 73.50, so that's one I'm looking at. And the other one is Plug Power. If we can we did bounce right off that, seemed like we bounced right off that 25. I'm looking for 24.50 and change for that long on Plug. And another one I wanted to pull up before we continue is BIOL. It just came up on my volume scanner. Quick move, consolidation, 80-cent break would potentially get you extension. I don't know at this point. Neil, you're the one who trades these.
That's that penny stock, right?
Yeah, it's a penny stock. This is your style. So what do you think of this setup here?
Okay, you know what? I was looking at it this morning, to be honest with you, and then I got away from it. I was like, I don't know, like, is it doing enough volume? Because I always want these things to be doing more volume if it's a penny stock. But I mean, I looked. You're talking about like this 80 to 82 half. I'm assuming for a bit of a break. Are we talking about the
break?
Like, I'm sort of with you. Like, it looks like it's a good breakout style trade. Now, I don't know a darn thing about this. I don't know a damn thing about this company, to be honest with you. But the setup looks pretty good for an 82.50 break. The 80, I think, is a bit of a trap. Like, usually how I'd play these, if I understood the news better, is just fade off of the 80 short, or maybe even let the 80 short break, and then just grab like an 80.81, and your real long is through that 82.50 area, and then the people that got long here get stopped out, and you get some of that retracement gap fill if you want to play it both ways. It's not done enough volume that I'm convinced that I want to be that active on it though. So I'm kind of with you. 82.50 looks pretty good, man. Yeah,
it does. So I'll keep an eye on that one. And we'll continue on. What do you got, Brendan?
All right, ACB at the bottom end of the list, guys. They reported aftermarket yesterday. Yeah, not good, obviously, for ACB. We're kind of in no man's land at this point on the daily chart. It's trying to hold some of these levels that we put in aftermarket yesterday. Interesting, they also announced during the report that they're going to be switching over to the NASDAQ. So this currently NY going to be NASDAQ down 8.6%. 675. 680 ends up being a little bit of a level there aftermarket. If it gets back above that, don't be surprised if it gets back to here. Otherwise, this could test the lows pretty quick, guys, for ACB.
Ooh, Aurora Cannabis. What are we going to do with you? So I got to recap a few positions here. I've got 3 to the short side. I'm hunting for some longs, obviously, but one is going to be IHT. There's going to be this stock, because of how volatile it can be, there's going to be a little bit of concern. It just had that rollover. Now, if I take an 85, maybe I'm getting some out for a 15-cent scalp. Last time we got about 20. This time in the morning, not going to be averaging into it. If it breaks 810, the next level up, like Brennan mentioned, is going to be that 850. Disney, which I could have taken a quick little scalp trade on, I did not, which I was mentioning to you guys about a minute or two ago, looks like it is trending back to the upside. So hold off. If I'm going to be adding this position, it has to be off of a failure around that 74 area that I like off of the open. So I need to see it get there, and it's got to be a post 930 type of idea for me, guys. Coinbase, I'm pretty sure I want to be into this one off of the open. It's starting to roll over. If it breaks that 280, I'm actually already bidding down in front of that 71. And look, I like that 66 as well. So if it gets down to that price, I'll likely revisit that. Just in case that 70 doesn't hold, I want to be buying the dip on Coinbase. The break at 280 has kind of come and gone, so there's no need to concern myself with that. I'm looking for a potential dip off the open. They've usually been pretty good with coin.
Yeah, it does look like ACB's momentum on the sell side, right? 680 seems to be the point of interest. I'm going to mark that off to 7 just to get. Sometimes the round numbers work better than these midpoints, so I'm going to say 7. If we can get above 7, then you may consider the possibility of a long. But again, if you're looking for shorts, I think you got to use 7 as a stop. Anyone who's wondering what just happened, on tech stocks. That was the 928 NASDAQ imbalance that just came out.
Yeah.
So that looks like it's negative.
Whoa.
So this is coming back off, and the futures on the ES side, at least, they have not moved. Neil, are you in any tech positions right now?
I'm not. I'm looking at a spike that just happened. And look, the only reason I'm going to Wish because it was like the best stock in the world yesterday if you were shorting it. And I just want to go to the morning low. The 12 o'clock low, 870. It was a breakdown at 870. Sometimes shorting the bottom is the absolute way to go. Look, it was so good yesterday. I mean, 870 was a good price, and it's at 869. I'm going to take. I'm taking a little bit of shares here, see if I can get something in. If I can get a bit of a fill around that price, I'll try to get it. Do we not have shortable shares? Gonna have to pay for shorts. I got to quickly do that while managing positions. That's gonna be an interesting task to do, and we have to drop the countdown here. So let's get this party started. It is Friday. We're ending off the week, hopefully with a bang. Ms. V's got the purple on. The market is green. Hopefully it holds up. 3, 2, and 1. Let's get this party started. How could I not have shortable shares in Wish? That's all on me, man. It just immediately flushes to the downside. Of course it does, right? Like, that's the opening candle on Wish. I didn't get my locates in, so pie in my face. I have to take responsibility for that. That was the #1 stock yesterday. There goes IHT. Now, obviously, I didn't want to add to that position going into the open. Would have been okay, it seems, for now, as it just flushed all the way down into 760. If it comes back and wants to give me a shot short in front of that 810s, I'll be adding only in front of that price, and my stop is set there, so no concerns whatsoever with that.
Yeah, just a quick look at the futures here. We just popped right off the open, so that's great. We are long just in front of 30. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave my offer there. My offer is actually sitting at just in front of 45 there. So I'll leave the first target as an offer there. We're not going to move anything. We're going to leave the stop as is. It is still sitting at 41.15 and 41.44 or 44 or 45. That's going to be your first target. And then from there on, we just manage. That's it. Just let it move, let it work, let it do its thing. If it comes back, it comes back. That's just how trading works. Now ACB is just taking off right to that 7s. Remember, I said 7. If we can get longs in front of 7 or at 7, you have potential to go. Not my style, but if you're looking for shorts as well, 7 would be your stop. So that's something to keep an eye on. And Disney just refuses to move.
Come on.
I don't know what Disney's doing, but it is not moving. It's not.
I'll tell you what it's doing.
Oh wait, I didn't have the chart up.
It just bounced off. This is ridiculous because my order, I'm not sitting at 172. I'm at 171.88. And it just bounced down off of off that level almost to the penny. So I was trying to get that just through that 172. It's rolling over a little bit. I'm going to take that if I can catch it and then see if it doesn't ride down towards that 170 to 171 area. So far, so good in Disney. This is ridiculous. Might have to bid up. This is, it's kind of stupid. I'll take 60 to 65 cents if that's all it's going to give me. It bounced off my order. And of course, the second I move the bid, I just get eaten up on Disney and it's heading to the downside. I didn't average in. Now, the reason why is I wanted to see it roll over at the open. That has happened, but not without me. IHT's working in the money, but I just got into the long on AMC, so there's that break. Now, I wish it had been the dip buy because dip buys are usually more profitable, but I did like that 75. Now, keep in mind, a bit of a scalp play idea because we have a 14 and a 14.25 that we have to be concerned with, so both those levels are going to be in play. So far, so good. We'll have to see with AMC, and of course, Coinbase at 77, not quite down to where I wanted to buy it yet.
Okay, so just a quick update. I am looking for a lot of trades, but at the same time, I've got to manage the existing ones as Disney just falls completely apart, close to that 173.50. So Apple, I don't like the way Apple's setting up right now. I've already got the futures position that's up. So the fact that Apple's a big part of the futures, you got to consider. Well, you were sitting on the opposite sides. Now, the way it's set up right off the open, we kind of shot down, came up, and then we came down again. I'm trying to bail on this trade, but I think I missed the exit there, so I'm going to have to wait for the stop. But I do have an order to get out flat on Apple. Again, like I said, it's a small position. I wanted to start something pre-market. If I liked it, I would have built it, but I didn't like it, so I kind of left it as is. So we'll just leave that be. If I got to take the hit, we got to take the hit. But back to Disney, man. What do you do at this point? As we kind of fail, I think I got to consider the possibility of a short. If it comes back to 172 and maybe 20, just above 20 or so, I think a short there with 173.50 is in play because I was looking at 171.50. if we broke 173.50, I was going to use 171.50 as my stop. But the fact that we took the 171.50 makes me think that we are going to go negative on this. So I'm going to flip to offering into some shorts on Disney with 173.50 as a stop. And again, ACB is still backing off that 7. So anyone who wants to take a look at a short, if you like the short and you want to use a stop, 7 is your stop right there.
Well, I got stopped out on that LFMD, so I have room to get into one more. But I'll tell you, what's music to your ears, the best thing a trader can hear is like you're in position and Arun likes the direction. So I like that Disney as well. I'm adding if it comes back to the upside. It doesn't want to though. Like we're still around that 171 bottom, so about $1.50 in the money. It's this IHT that continues to roll over. Just got 740s out, so that'll be like a 40-cent winner. We're approaching the 7 even, which is the pre-market lows here. Might catch a little bit of a bounce. I don't mind shorting a pop in this, but I want to hold through just in case 7 even goes and it's an absolute flush zone. It's AMC that's a bit of, I almost said the word punk, but it is what it is. Like the breakout trade is not always as good, right? So it's going to try to flush some people out here as it breaks that 1375, and I might be one of them. Like if it breaks their ears, if it breaks 1350, I'm not going to fight it too far. I think there's always a dip buy, like I mentioned. If the initial long is going to be what's going to lose for me, I don't mind dipping back in. I'll risk the 25 pennies. I thought we were getting to 14 to 14.25. That's about a 25 to 50 cent range to the upside. So I'm not going to let it go past that 25 in the other direction on me. And Coinbase can't get too far away from this one. I did think there was going to be a dip a little further, down into like that 71 area. It seems to be testing this chop zone at 273. I'm going to go with the patience game and hold off. A lot of times what will happen is I want the long so badly that I'll get into it here at 73, and then I'm staring at that better price $2 later. So not going to force the issue. Arun, Disney is not giving any chance here to get back in. Maybe this is going to be it, bouncing off of 170 even. I don't like to break at 170. I think maybe we both said that. But if it bounces off that price, might be our shot here. And I think it could be around 172. Might not even give these 172 halves and 3/4 another time.
Yeah, we'll go to Brendan and then we'll come back to me after.
All right, early strength, guys, in retail names. Here we go. Macy's first off, 4%. It was up way more than this. Just tagged 1680 off there, but nice break of that pre-market high so far. Retail names, guys, showing some early strength.
I don't know what day. You guys can check on this. Macy's reports next week, and I think there's a couple of other names in the space that are going to be reporting. I'm not sure what day, but it is one of the biggest ones left in earnings next week. That bounce is like, I mean, that's a sloppy, lazy, nothing bounce on Disney off of 170. It's trying to talk me into getting like a 170 position, guys. It's just a short, but I'm going to hang off. I'm going to maybe throw an offer out there in the 172 range, guys, just to see if we can't catch it. Coinbase, see, patience is a virtue. I said I could have been talked into, well, I could have talked myself into getting into that one at that 73. Instead, I wait right down here in front of that 170, the first defense I wanted to put in. If it wants to break the 270 area, I can always get back into the trade a little bit lower where you kind of know that, well, you guys know I like that 265, so 266 is going to be a long for me on Coinbase. I got to 21 quarters, well, 21, 71, 22. The long side, if it can bounce back into that 73, 74, I'll scalp some out, then see if we can't break back up towards 80. This has worked pretty well in the past. You know, you do something enough in terms of a pattern, eventually your last trade is going to be a loser, but as a trader, you got to play the pattern until it stops working. So that's what I'm doing here in Coinbase. Go back to the well one more time for that long.
Yeah, you know, going back to Disney, I realized what was the issue. I was like, Disney's not moving. It's because I had the chart scrolled back. I couldn't see the update. So I'm sitting here thinking it was still at 173 when it was actually breaking down. Now that breakdown, I think anything below 172.50 kind of opened up the short side if you were looking at it. What do you do now? You really can't do a whole lot. I mean, you can try to take a shot at the 170 break, but again, I'm trying to stay away from that 169 area. So the further away from 170 or that 169 I can get, the better it is. But it looks like if you caught it, you're good. If you didn't, well, if it comes all the way back up, then you're probably in trouble with that short. So maybe this trade has already left the building. So let's stay away from that. But one that did come up, I will go over after we come back from Brendan.
Yeah, we're just going to tell you about CCL here, guys. Some of the cruise lines popping up as well. So travel, some retail, some reopening type plays. Early movers here. CCL 3.5% just broke 26 on volume.
All right. I was going to BNGO. Remember, we marked off that 530 area or so. We are at 548, breaking above. I'm going to try to put a bid down there if it can come back into that 530 with a 480 stop. So I'll risk 50 cents or so on the stop. I like the breakout. I think we have potential, so I'm going to look for the bid. I missed a trade. I just saw it just now on the breakout. So put a bid down, see if we can get a fill on the way back. And on the futures, I've already taken some out here in front of this 40. It's strong. There's a decent amount of volume around here, so I want to book some. I got 39s, I think. Yeah, I got 39. So it's about 8 points for anyone who's wondering how much that is. It's about 8 points is about $400 a contract. So depends on how many contracts you have, 400 times whatever, right? So BNGO is the one trade I'm looking at, and the rest of the trade I've got here on ES, we're just gonna let it go. 44 is the next target, see if we can get some more out there. And Apple, I'm still managing that 127.50 as the stop, but I am looking to get this one out. I don't wanna be in it, but I'm kind of stuck in no man's land right now with the position that I don't want, but at the same time, it's not in a location where I can just dump the trade. So we just gotta wait for that one to play out. And plug power is coming back through that 24.50. This is what I was looking for. See, I'm going to look at the bigger chart and see if we can find a trade here. Neil, you want to take it while I take a look at this?
No problem here. Just want to show you guys. Look, someone asking a question. Karate Do. What does it mean if I hit that like a flush down the toilet thing? Look, it could mean that I'm in a short that's working. Usually it's going to be something that's going to the downside, like whether or not I'm getting out of a long. We'll tell you guys when we're getting in and out of position. It doesn't always mean that. It could just mean I'm in the money on a short and getting close to covering. Now AMC, I talked about the tight stop. This is what happens. You break that 1350 area. You're now right into pre-market lows at 1290. And I said there might be a better dip buy opportunity for us, and that's what I would wait around for, and then not hold on to that too long. So this is what I'm going to think about here. If we can bounce off that 1290 area, that's going to be a leg that I'll try to take here. But it has to give me some kind of a bounce in this range first. I'm not going to step in front of the falling sword too hard because it looks like it's going absolutely crazy. The other one, and I go back to Disney here because this is it's kind of frustrating. I didn't want to add to the short, and I can probably go ahead and cancel that offer because if it screams up $3, I want to make a judgment call there. We've now broken this 170. It's just hanging out off the low of the day. We're in the money about $3 on the trade. It's showing some signs that it wants to stall out here. So, what I'm going to go ahead and do is if it retests that 169, breaks it, I'm very, very likely to want to hold. I'm going to now average into it around this 171 to 171.50. So step it up a little bit. Brendo?
All right, another one here. Earnings name, Farfetch, guys. FTCH up 10% coming in, though. Just broke back below 41 here. A big level for this thing on volume. Earnings aftermarket yesterday for Farfetch.
All right, a couple updates, guys. I got myself some BNGO positions here. What do I have? It's right here. I got 33. 533 is my entry. Again, 480 was the stop on the BNGO position. It's as it comes right through. And it looks like Apple's coming right back. I should be getting out of Apple soon. There we go. There's my position on Apple. So flat on Apple. We're just going to walk away from that Apple position. I don't like it anymore, but even though it's coming right back down, that's fine. I'll take well, I actually made some money on that trade. I made 3 cents on that trade, but I'm happy to walk away from that. Futures continuing on higher, but not getting to that 44, which is the next target. So we'll keep an eye on that. So that's doing well. We closed out the Apple position and BNGO just got filled. I am looking to get into plug as well. I'm just analyzing where exactly I want to get in because I'm using 23.25 as my stop. I want to get into the 50s, but I want to make sure that I'm not going to be sitting in front of a sell side volume coming in. So just trying to make sure that as we come down on the market in general, actually, plug is coming down, Apple's coming down, so are the futures. So a little bit of sell side activity coming in right now.
It's not that crazy. I'm only looking at the ES versus NASDAQ, but I'm with you on that plug power. I'm actually, looking at this like quarter range if it breaks that 50. I had to dip out of that Coinbase, so we'll go with that. For the long on coin. It's the shorts that are coming in, right? So you see me have 2 long trades. Coinbase didn't work and AMC hasn't worked either. I'm sitting in the money on this IHT, and look, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to look a gift horse in the mouth. It is tried to break this 7 even area. Came down, got to like 680. It just tried to the second, you gotta be kidding me. Well, that's not the level 2. This is the level 2 of, this is exactly what happened. This was not here. I swear this wasn't here a second ago, this seller. The second I punch out of this position to take the 80-cent winner, just over 80 cents, I see a big seller pop in at 7. If it breaks this guy, I'm going to look to short this name on any kind of a pop, somewhere around that 725, 730 area. Brendan, what's up?
Disney, guys, just coming into day lows here, session lows. We came back up to this level, 170.20 from aftermarket yesterday. Failed pretty hard there on volume as well. So Disney back to the downside.
I don't know where to get out of this thing. I'm just going to hang on to the Disney short, really.
Of course it comes down, right? Of course it does. I'm a little sour about that one there. Okay, back to plug. What am I going to do on plug? I was when I was looking at it, it was at 50. Now it's back at 83. Okay, 24.50 roughly. I wanted to get in around there, but I think I might have to put a bid down there, see if we can get a fill on 24.50 with 23.25 as your stop. Future's still going, so 44 is your first target there. BNGO came through into the 20s. That's okay, that's fine. 480 is the stop on BNGO. Another one that I was looking at, what was it? Mara. Let me pull up Mara here on this chart here. MARA on NQ. 23, that's the level I marked off. We went to 22.50. Again, there's a ton of action around there. So 23 was a stop for that reason. I gotta consider the possibility of a short on Mara, given how it's trading at the moment. Around 22, 22.50, I wanna wait. This is a 5-minute chart, so I'm gonna wait for this one to play out or close out. This is, it's gonna close in 30 seconds. And then I'm gonna keep an eye on the volume after it closes just to see how much action we're getting on the buy side. Because anyone who's looking at charts right now, you do see a buy tail on Mara on the 5-minute chart. That would make you think that there's some sort of buy side action keeping it from going down. Hence why I'm gonna see how much buying is left. I'm not gonna wait for the next 5-minute bar to take a short, but if I see more buying, I'm gonna hesitate. But if I don't see any more buying after this bar closes, I might just go ahead and take the short with the 23 stop. So Mara is something I'm looking at. It does look fairly strong around that 22 for now. But again, that's something to keep an eye on with 23 as your stop.
And second shot at Coinbase. Now, I talked about wanting 2 long trades. Obviously, one of them is going to be up at 70. I said I like that 65 area, of course. And there was an iceberg here at 67, by the way, just to show you on the bid. A couple of times it's bounced off that. Someone chewing up some shares on the bid. I just happened to join that party. I just hop in there, and you jump the line, of course, when that's the case. Whether it breaks or not, I like the 65 to the downside. So I'm giving a little bit more room to the 67 long than I was in front of that 70. If we can get back into that 70 range, it's worth a scalp of like $2 or $3, maybe even like 4 or 5, and then see if it can't get back into VWAP. I believe we got Miss V at the big screen.
Hey Neil, traders in the chat talk about LEDS stock. It jumped to 24% and now halted. Could you give us a quick review?
Oh boy, yeah, I remember about leads. Well, I call it leads, but I guess it's like LEDs. I don't know, however you guys want to pronounce it here. You got to be very, like this stock in the last few sessions has been calming down a little bit, but if you look at what was happening before the 450 ramp, and that's not the big story. The big story was back here in the 6th when you essentially doubled in price, and wow, Coinbase is coming to the downside. I'm out. That's twice in Coinbase we've gotten flushed out, so it's going to be this kind of day for Coin. It's only shorts, man. It's Disney, I don't know, whatever. I should have only shorted today. Just going back over to LEDs, you have to be really concerned. And normally I'm thinking about shorts off of those halt trades, and I look at a level like this, at that 780, that 8 even, you can kind of have it stand out here on the 15-minute chart. It's got to show me a heck of a lot of weakness below those levels. Open up, immediately fail, ridiculously tight stop for the short. Otherwise, let it make its move. Because if this gets back anywhere close to 1050 to 11, I am going to be all over this. Whenever it's put in moves like this, and then tries after a couple of days of downward action to on way smaller volume, if I can you guys see the volume here? I don't know if we can get like a different look, or I have to scroll this all the way up and make it really extreme. On essentially no volume. Look at the volume on the last spikes and look at the volume onto this little halt. It's essentially nothing. You can't even see it. It's not going anywhere, guys. It's absolutely nothing. That's why I'm going to be favoring the short side of the trade. If it was really screaming on the volume end and then maybe testing some of those higher levels, fine. But for me, it's only going to be a short trade. I see nothing that I like to the long side off of this move. I'm just looking for a place to fade it. But it's so thin that you got to be careful.
Yeah, I'm looking at Coin as well. I agree with you, Neil. 264 was the low end of that range that I had marked off. 264 on the low end, 285 on the high end. I love how we got close to the top and fell right back down. So, I had the levels pegged, but I didn't see the trade. But 264 break kind of opens a door, at least for $10. So I'm going to keep an eye on this 264 break, see if we can get a short there. Plug Power. I was looking at it. I don't like the trade. I'm going to walk away from Plug Power. Not a fan of this. Futures update. Second target was hit, 41.44. That was the second exit, so you'll see this trade here. So we got 8 points on the first one, and we got about 13 points on the second one, and we're just going to let the rest of it ride. So we'll continue on with that trade, and BNGO is bouncing off this, trying to bounce off this 520. And we're just going to wait and see what, here goes Coin with 264. While I do this, what's Brendan got?
We were talking about some of the reopening names popping up this morning. Here's another one for you. Went through the cruise lines, went through the retailers. Now let's talk about airlines. Love here just popped up on a volume scanner at 61.5 there, guys. 2.5% so far for Southwest.
So we are open back up here in LEDS at a cost of 12 cents a share. I've gotten some locates here, so thank you, day trader. Well, as always, sometimes you got to pay for them, but it's worth it if the stock is going to make a move. Not a ton of strength, but look, it's not going to set up for an immediate short. I think it has to look. I love 1050. I said that, like 1050, 11, 1150 up there. I'm going to like a heck of a lot better, but if it wants to roll past yesterday's, well, last couple of sessions tops at 950, and that's where it's going to be, I'll take a shot at it at that price. Disney with a little bit of bounce in it, a little bit of pep in its step here, or at least trying to bounce off of what was the aftermarket low. For me, that's going to be enough. Well, I wasn't aggressive enough. That's going to be enough for me. Oh, iceberg at 35. So I'm going to get 69.35. I'm going to take it out. Just anticipating if it bounces off a level like that once, I'm not going to, you know what it is. I'm not going to look gift horse in the mouth, but I'm going to power it up because the only thing that was working on the short trades. Now, obviously, IHT was a good short. And then now Disney we're able to have, but on the other end of that is Coinbase a couple of times, and then AMC longs not working out for us. Disney, it's not to beat up on it. I love the name. I love it for the long term, but you cannot fight the tape. You cannot fight that price action, and I didn't want to do it here. I still want to stay on the south side of this trade if I can. If it gets back into that 171 to 172 range, I think we'll have to double dip on this one. We got away from Airbnb, oddly enough, and this happened. So it got all the way up to a 142 off of the open. And this is exactly the crazy nonsense that happened post-market on this stock, where it comes all the way up and then slams back down. It's a tighter range, but 131, this is aftermarket lows, right at this 131, 131.15. Arun, I just got into plug, so I didn't walk away from it yet. So I'm still long in front of that 24 area, just got the quarters. But Airbnb, if it can't hold this 131, I mean, things could get kind of ugly here. I'm surprised it already gave $10 back so quickly.
Yeah, so a couple things with, what was it, futures? No, not futures, coin. I got myself a short here, 263.78. I'm risking 269, so I'm risking about $5 and change. I just think the trade on this, because given how thin it is and given how much space we have to the downside, I can get at least 2-to-1 risk reward on this trade. That's what I'm looking for. So I'll put up the risk, see what we can get with that one. I also went short on Mara as well. I didn't like what was happening around 22 even. It looks like it was a bad decision at that time because it's bouncing hard right now. At 22.14, I got 21.94. That's fine. 23 is a stop. I'm open to the idea of a short in this area given the kind of action we're getting. That's fine as well. So we got short on coin, short on Mara, and the futures long, which is still going for now. So those are the three trades. Oh, I also have BNGO long, which is out of the money. So futures covering most of the losses in all the other trades. Well, actually, the only loss really is nothing. Never mind. Take that back. So they're just sitting out of the money, but they're not actual losses yet, given the trade hasn't really hit any stops or anything like that. But for now, those are the 4 trades I'm working with, and we'll just let the market go and see what it wants to do.
Speaking of let the market go, I see you, Cincy Video Guru. I am ready to reload on that Disney short as long as it gets any kind of a pop. I want to play that weakness. Now, in the other direction, and we'll walk on whatever that stuff is that comes here. And look, it was just looking for a place to go along in the plug. Oh, that's interesting. You don't always hear the music with that, so you guys, we don't always get the sounds that go with it, but I just heard it, so that was pretty cool. Bouncing off this level in the pre-market, this 24 quarters, I got 26s, scalped them up for a 20-cent win, if only because, now remember when you heard everyone like walk away from plug and try and decide what to do? This was at that 24.50 level, which just kept bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. So when it gets into this range, I was expecting some chop, which would allow me to get in, so out some for a win, and then maybe back in at the lows. If it continues higher, fine. It just means we're going in the money. But I want to make sure I got some scalp trade out there. It's a 20 million volume, plenty of chances to get back in. What's up there? Not Arun, Brendan.
Just saw Wish here pop up. One from yesterday, guys. So weak yesterday, this Wish. We got back into this little congestion area from the afternoon, and it's starting to roll back over here. So still up on the morning, but starting to head back down for Wish.
Oh, I can't believe I missed that short up there. Oh, I should have paid. This is like, if you have like the number one, like your best stock the day before is a short, and you come in the next day and that stock is up, and I don't even check to make sure that we have the locates and then pay for the shorts, that's like one of the worst mistakes I could have possibly made, and then missing the opportunity to short that top. If it gets back up to call like the, I don't know, like 75 or so, like that 80, that lower high. I'll sort of be all over this one. And Disney's getting close. Where are we at? We're at like 169, 70. Why do I keep typing? There we go. I don't know what NF is in our system, but I always like hit enter when it hits that. VWAP is up here at about like 170.50. That pre-market low was at 170.30 or so. So you start creeping into that range. We're going to start looking at that reload on Disney. We're not there yet, but we're getting pretty close, and that's the plan of action. One of the reasons why I got out. Man, you're talking about no love. Can't get past VWAP this AMC. It looks like maybe a retracement day. If we get back above that 1340, I'll be looking for some strength and maybe to play that side of the trade. DoorDash, thank you, Brendan. We got away from Airbnb. We got away from DoorDash as well, and that is looking like it's about to break out. It has not gotten through that 130 yet, though, so watch out for a 130 breakout. That could be coming rather close here. I'll look to take out the top. I mean, it's so strong. I would have preferred to buy the dip, but there just hasn't been one, so there's only other way to do it is to go long through the top.
Yeah, I'm looking at Mara and I take the position. I'm like, man, did I jump the gun on that trade below 22? Because I thought I saw enough. Maybe it wasn't enough. I'm in the trade now, so I'm kind of locked in, risking about $1 and change for it. Not the greatest of ideas, apparently. Very volatile and a lot more aggressive than I thought it was going to be. So note for next time when I take these kind of positions on these kind of stocks, stay away and be a little bit more sure that you actually want the position at that point. I wasn't sure based on how it was moving previously, but I thought I had enough. Maybe not. But again, coin. I've got that 264 short, 269 stop. That's what I've got. And future's still going pretty strong here, fairly well. So here we are, almost 20. We're at 16 points in the money on our final leg of our position. So we'll let that one continue out, and that's it. We got coin on the short side, we got Mar on the short side, and we got BNGO on the long side. And they are all relatively out of the money, except for the futures, which is covering all those losses and then some.
That's what it's all about there for sure. I don't know if I heard Brendan a second ago, but I have to say it. I have to at least bring it up. I can't. Look, I know Sean's not here and he's taking a long weekend, but Palantir just broke the high of the day. So for all of you out there, yes, I still am noticing this. It wasn't on my radar for stock to trade today, but Palantir through the high of the day. Somewhere right now, Sean is yelling, bang, for sure, as Palantir up 3.5% and through the high of the day. It had to be done, people. It absolutely had to be done. One name that, look, I just got into DoorDash through the high off of a 130 break, so that's a new position for me. The other long is Plug Power. Disney, right into my reload zone. Brendan, what's up?
Snowflake, guys, a name we haven't talked about much in recent past. Rightfully so, if you look at the daily chart, just doing nothing but going down. Popping up here this morning nicely, 5% on decent volume. This is 200 right above us here for Snowflake. Goldman Sachs with an upgrade on Snowflake today.
Ooh, giddy up, giddy up. It's weird because this makes no sense to anybody but me. But Snowflake, the second you mentioned it, the first thing that came into my mind was what is Square doing? And of course it falls off the open. I wish I was watching Square because I sort of look at this 200 level and say once it retakes it, probably a good look. Now it broke it with some conviction down to 198. Let's wait around and sort of think about like a 204. Like if it retakes all of this and makes a convincing break through the top, I'd call it 204 quarters. I'm gonna like the long through on Square. It's similar to like, you might wanna buy the dip on DoorDash, but if I don't get it, I don't get it. I'm long through the top. That goes 50 cents in the money and is now doing essentially nothing. If it breaks a buck, maybe we'll take a little bit out for a scalp trade. But I'm gonna like Square through 204 quarters. I know it makes literally no sense to have gone from Snowflake to Square, but it's just, I don't know, it's something about my brain this morning where I had those two together, and Square I certainly preferred. Let's see if it does make that break. I'm only longs, except for a Disney reload, which I'm about to average into, guys.
Yep, and I just learned my lesson with Mara. Everyone in the chat saying they lost money shorting Mara, so did I. Don't short Mara, apparently, or be a lot more confident when you do. So here I am taking a $1 and change hit on Mara. We'll walk away from that position. Probably not the greatest of timing in that one there. So we'll walk away, but you know what? I'm looking at futures. Here we are at 50. We started this trade at 30. We're 20 points, almost 20 points. I got 31s. We're at 50. That's about 19 points in the money, and we've been taking profit along the way. So all I can say to that is anyone who's wondering about animations, there you go. Pew. That's it. That's my tagline there for anyone wondering. And we're just gonna let this one work. Futures going, here we go, breaking 50. So 20 points in the money on the futures for anyone who has a single contract, even a single one. That's $1,000 in your bank account right there for you guys. And the futures coin coming back down. I got 263.78 as we kind of tested the 265, 266. Again, it's all expected. I like the 264 break, 269 is a stop, and here we go on coin. This sometimes the best trades are the ones that don't work out right away because they kind of reload. Given how fast we came down on coin, and then we kind of went up to 265, reloaded, allow some shorts to take profit, and come back down again. Now, the second leg could be a lot more aggressive. So anyone who's wondering if I'm out of the money, don't freak out, because sometimes the best trades are the ones where they get a chance to reload on the position and take a second leg. So here we are on plug. Neil, you have plug, right? You took that long. I
got long plug, 80 cents in the money. I just got square, but that's basically flat right now. And then I'm looking at Fisker because, look, I mean, the stocks that are in the money, we're not too worried about it. And DoorDash is now 250 or so in the money to the long side, so that breakout's working. Look, the market's going up. Only thing that's not working is my Disney reload because I got 65s as a price. But Fisker, it goes the other way. Now, we talked about this, that I wasn't very comfortable long in Fisker until it got all the way down to like 10.25, 10.50. Look, it's still a little bit of a ways away, but it's getting pretty close. And you just said sometimes the best trade is the one that doesn't work right away. I find sometimes the best trade is the one that you don't take or the one that you're really patient with. And I think, I've tried to be patient with Coinbase, and I know that didn't work out, but the plan of action I'm pretty happy with. Like, I waited for the two entries that I liked. Neither one of them worked out for me. That's going to be okay. If Fisker wants to test down into that 25 to 50 range, it's starting to slow down. I think it can catch a bid down there. I might throw a bid in front of 50s just so I can pick some shares up. Is exactly what we're looking for in Fisker. Let's see if we can't get a bit of a further dip side, and then we can get along in FSR. You guys are going to Brendan because it's 10 o'clock. Wowzers. Time for happening now.
All right, let's have a look at how things are shaping up so far at 10 o'clock. As we mentioned, it is tech stocks leading the way so far. 1.3, 1.2 to the upside here for the NASDAQ, both composite and 100 having a nice day. Same story for the S&P, 1% to the upside for the S&P 500 at this point. Russell, almost a full percent here. The Dow lagging ever so slightly, still 0.8. Great way to end off the week. As we said, extending some of the strength that we saw from Thursday's session. Fisker, however, Neil was just mentioning this, but not extending the strength we saw here in the pre-market coming into 1080, 1075. Yeah, long way to go still potentially, but decent volume still for FSR, up about 9-10%. I mentioned this earnings report for Airbnb. It was a bit of a mess. The trading, anyways, same story today again. Test higher, test lower. We're right back to the middle. Nothing doing for AB&B, guys.
All right, I'm just looking at this Coinbase. I kind of switched charts to the 5-minute chart just to see where we're going to run into some issues. It looks like maybe in front of that 260 is going to be a problem. I still like the trade. I still like the risk profile. I'm okay with it. I think if we can clear this zone, we can get going. I still like it down to 255, so I'll just be patient with this one. It does look like it's going to take some time to develop its trade, so we'll just wait this one out on that. And what else did I have? BNGO is flirting with the fives, coming back to 510. Again, that's fine. Let it take its time. Futures, still going strong. This is, so the update with the futures, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the stop. Remember, originally it was 41.15. I'm going to move the stop to 41.35, locking in at least 4 points, 3 points or so. That's fine. Yes, I'm up 19 or 20 points, but you got to let trades breathe, right? When you trade too restrictive, you're not letting the trade breathe, giving the stops that need space. You're going to take more hits because stocks move around. They kind of bang around a little bit and then they go. So, or they don't go, but they tend to take their time, bounce around levels, and then they take their move or make their move. So you got to let them breathe. So for anyone who's wondering why you keep getting stopped out, maybe your stops are too close. So consider that as a thing to keep an eye on when you take your trades, that you want to give more space to them. So you take less trades, more space if you have to control your money allocation or your capital allocation.
You know what I love about that? I want to double down on that for a quick little second there, Runa. This is why I love having a bit of a different flavor and why we have different traders on the show and even on our floor as well. Is if you can't give it that extra space, maybe it's overtrading too many positions, but it could also just mean too much size, right? So sometimes breaking through for traders is trading smaller size and giving stocks a little bit more room. And I've seen that time and time again. And sometimes it's counterintuitive because I've seen traders make more money by putting less capital towards their trades. Because if you can't hold to execute your plan because you got scared, you're like, ooh, I don't like seeing that negative P&L, and that's one of the worst things that can happen, because then your good decisions you're not being rewarded from. Now, hopefully it's a good decision that I don't really have any shorts on, and I know that usually I'll be shorting a lot of stocks here. Disney had slid down. It was about like 40, 50 cents in the money. Now it's coming back up. It's the longs working. Square just hit 205 and broke. I had that 04 break. We'll take a quick buck scalping as it slows down and then hang on to the rest. We're still in that DoorDash. Plug Power, which you mentioned there, Arun, that one is still heading to the upside. Now, I scalped this out and was like, oh my goodness, I did this because I wanted to get more in. Now it's heading towards the upside. You look at this 25.50, I'm going to just quickly show you the 15 here. And I think we talked about this in the pre-market. If it gets through this top, like there's a bit of a breakout potential through that high. So I really don't mind taking profits in front of the high of the day and then looking to do a couple of things. I'm going to get out here at 20s or so. It's got the 18, hit the 18 bid. We're going to take a nice winner off of that long trade, almost a full buck. Now what I'm looking for is if we roll over, failing at that 25.50, 26 area, I can catch a bit of a dip buy situation or just take another potential breakout. So I do plan on getting back in, much like I got back into Disney. Maybe a little too early though. These shorts, man, it's weird. It's the initial short was good on Disney. It's the second one. We get VWAP. We actually get the better price here at 71s, and now we're pressing through. This was a profit-taking area at 72 for me, and the reason was it was a bit of a breakout in that pre-market. If this gets through this zone here, I almost got to take this one off and then look for a better price. We liked initially 174 as our stop out zone. So I don't want to give away more than like $1.50 on this trade when the short I like better is looming just a little bit higher, guys. So I like Disney here. I think it could roll over. 72 was a decent price in the pre-market, but I don't want it to travel through. Brendo?
Just checking on Blink. Yeah, they reported as well. So BLNK moving to the upside here through 29. So we had positive news on Plug, also moving back to the upside. But Blink also very strong so far, guys.
Yeah. Neil mentioned Square, and I pulled it up. I was like, man, I want some of that now. So I'm bidding in front of 205, trying to get some trades there with 203, 202 as a stop. So $3 in risk in front of 205. I think we have upside there. So I'll take a shot at the Square long with first target being around about 208 or so. So 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio, that's fine there. I'm also analyzing, someone in the chat mentioned that maybe I should move the stop on coin to 270. I see the reasoning why you want to put it behind a round number. I totally agree with that in normal scenarios, but given how fast it's moving, I don't know. I'm still looking at it, wondering if I should move the stop or not. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. I'm going to make my mind up at some point, given how the volume's moving around. So we'll see how that one plays out. I might move the stop, I might not. I might just take the hit. I've got a bid out because I just realized that maybe I missed something on this chart, and it's entirely possible that this 260 is going to hold well, given how much action we got here late in the session yesterday, and I may have completely missed that on the read. So I'm going to try to bail on this. It doesn't make sense to take the hit now because I still have resistance up here that's protecting this short, but at the same time, do I want to hold on to the short knowing that we're running right into support with that kind of risk on the table? Probably not. So I'm going to put a bid out, see if I can get out flat. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to reanalyze whether I want to change the stop on this trade to something above 270 instead of this 269 that I originally thought of. And I've still got that bid on Square, trying to get that 205 long with the 202 stop.
Sometimes it's like do as we say, not as we do. I kind of forgot about it. It got to the wayside here when I was looking at the Dash and the Square longs. Yeah, I missed out on that AMC. I was looking for the turn. It gave you an obvious one here, 1275, and gave you another shot at the bottom. Of course, I missed out on that trade. Now you're heading back towards, the first chop is where I got out, 1350 on the breakout. You get back above there, you have that potential to hang around, sort of VWAP, high a day, and give yourself a second breakout look. And then if it holds, you saw this pattern yesterday, if it holds this top all morning long, then you get that 2 o'clock breakout at the same price. So never get too far away from that. Arun, Brian Thompson has said that you need to be getting hydrated. And I see the water bottles next to you. So I gave the bang. There you go. I gave the bang because Sean's not here. But you got to get on that Hydration Nation thing. Now, I'm sipping my coffee, and I always do a good job on my side drinking the water. But you got to step it up there, buddy.
Fair. If people want to see me drink water, I'll do it for you guys on camera right here. Here's the water. Here it is going in my mouth. By popular demand, I just drank some water. Stay hydrated. There you go, guys. As I'm trying to bail, I got my exit on coin there. There's my exit on coin. I'm going to walk away, reassess, see where I want to put the stop. 271 is going to be the stop. And I believe I got Square as well. Square long 202. 205.03 is the entry on Square with 202 as a stop. So coin I've bailed on, and Square I am long on now because Neil said it. And you know, when Neil says something, you got to do it, right? So
what the heck are you talking about? Okay, when Neil says something, you got to do it. Someone get me an apple fritter. That anyone can? No one's gonna do it. What I did do, and I'm banging the table for this. This happened when I got out of IHT, like a big order stepped in. I'm like, I got my shorts in Wish. I paid for them so I can go short. This is what happened. It spikes to the upside, and then this bid shows up. I mean, like out of nowhere, 100 thou just below that $9, $8.96. It's kind of a random price. I'm here short at 880 and saying to myself, you know, how much? Oops, there you go. How much do you like it, Neil? I mean, it was the greatest short in the world yesterday. This is a big retracement level. This is one of the few bounces that it had was off of 870 into this 905 range. Good area code, by the way, here in Canada. Well, probably I'll say that. So I'm not using 9 as an out. I'm short in front of that 905. I mean, that bid has sort of gone away now, so that's going to embolden me to take a few more shares. But I'm into Wish. Yesterday was fantastic. This thing is up 10%. How'd that happen, Brendo?
Moxian, guys, another one we talked about yesterday with the big move back to the upside. This is a healthcare company from China, if you remember. MOXC had a 2-day, actually, pretty good move to the upside. Just broke 11. We're back below it, but nice looking chart here. Volume again on MOXC, guys.
Oh, that thing? I'm staying away from that the same way I stay away from GameStop. You guys watching, don't forget. We're going to have that afternoon show coming, and it's going to be myself and Arun. Obviously, Sean taking the day off for that fastest 45 minutes, as Sean dubs it. And yeah, you see me ignoring GameStop. I had the golden sombrero trading GameStop yesterday. I should have stuck to like Coinbase, which was a pretty solid one, and then Lemonade, which we'll get to at some point today. But yeah, I'm telling you, it was wild, and I think it's going to be a crazy end of the week, especially the way the futures are moving, and we get Arun's perspective, of course, in the overall market and trading the futures in that last 45 minutes. I'm looking forward to it myself. I'm not looking forward to getting blown out of this Wish short, so hopefully it doesn't happen. Square, I scalped some out, and usually when we do that, the idea is flip. The idea is to get back into some shares. That was an obvious area to do so when it just dipped back into 204, but it's resisting that 05. It's broken a couple of times, gone like 25, 30 cents higher. I think it's going to give a chance at a reload, but it might even be a better price than what we have here. So as much as I got that 204, there's a decent chance that we can get some like 203s if it does pop to the downside. So I'm probably going to wait around for it a little bit. We still have some shares on board, so I'm pretty happy with it for the time being. I said I would talk about Lemonade, if only because it gave like a ridiculous, there we go. It gave a ridiculous spike in yesterday's action, and sort of talking about this at the close. And as it happened, I had one short off 65, and when I took the quick hit, I said to everybody, I was like, just wait for 67s. When it gets to 67, that's the next time we're going to take it. And that's exactly what happened. Immediately reversed off like a couple of bucks here, 67 into 65. Today, we're looking at a very similar move, bottom to top. If you look at the afternoon range, you're looking at 64, previous breakout, aftermarket low, and then right at the top is exactly the same thing, like a 67.40. Now, this stock has been absolutely crushed the last little bit. There is room to run galore. I have to think about another set of breakouts that are coming here. Maybe if we can hold VWAP at the 66, 66.5. You're looking at a 67, 66 top. I'm looking for longs at some point. It's less than 1 million shares, so you got to be picky with Lemonade. If you get a really big dip, maybe you long at like 64.50 and give it like an entire like $1 and a half. I'm looking at the breakout, but I don't love that 50 yet. It's probably going to be an 11 o'clock type of trade or an afternoon type of deal for me. My wish has not come true yet. Well, my wish hasn't come true because I wanted an apple fritter. But that buyer on Wish filled and starting to head back to the downside. So it is what it is. I probably started this position too early. That could be my bias. I'm still looking for the first person with a positive, I guess, opinion on this stock or the company. We'll see if we can ever find one. I haven't yet. I have to take some off of VWAP, which is not a great exit. But if it bounces in this range, on an $8 stock, I've got to make some money inside of the range. Brenda, what's up?
This thing popped up yesterday, Express, back to retail land. Express Group, EXPR, Popped up midday yesterday on news, got all the way up to 350. We're back here again. You can see why. Big volume spike just lifted this back to 350. So EXPR moving, guys.
All right, guys, just a quick update on coin. I bailed on that position. It's coming back up to 266. I've decided that I am going to move the stop. The original stop that I had 269, I'm going to put it to 271. Now, if it starts to slow down in this 267 area, remember, I saw some activity in the 260s that I kind of missed on the first analysis. So now, as we come back up, if we can start to slow down and set up some sort of setup around this 267 to 270, I think shorts could be back on deck here for the short, or back on deck for coin. But if it runs right back up to where it came from, then I think, well, obviously you can't short at that point. But for now, we're looking for some shorts here on coin if it can just slow down a little bit, just so we can get a good risk-reward analysis. And whoever was in the chat that pointed that out, thank you for bringing that up, because I completely missed the idea of that stop being above 270, and then that made me think of support levels as well, which kind of reanalyze the entire trade itself. Now, Square, I've got 205.03. Here we are approaching 206. First target I've got is 207.70. That's my first exit. We're going to let this one work itself out. And who do I thank for this? Neil. Neil's the guy who brought it up. So he wants an apple fritter, I guess. Someone's got to get him an apple fritter. It won't be me, but it will be someone else. But they will get him an apple fritter.
Whoa, hold on a second. You can't say that. Don't be thanking me for stuff and then talking about someone getting an apple fritter. It's not going to be me. I mean, I don't know. Like I don't even know what to say to that. Like it is going to be me. So you're welcome, Arun. I take no credit for it.
You said it's going to be me. It's going to be you then, right?
Huh? Oh.
You said it's going to be me. So get yourself one. Is that what you just said?
You know what I meant to say.
I don't know what you mean.
Don't listen to what I say. You know what I meant to say. I've known you for way too long, Arun. It is what it is. Look, we're having a lot of fun here. I don't know if that's why. I think it will continue, hopefully. I mean, DoorDash just popped. I mean, that's still the money. That's okay. It's this Fisker, which just popped in. Now, you can worry about the things that are coming in the money. Disney's coming back down. Obviously, Wish is kind of hanging here, and I think it's going to be good. But we got Fisker, and this is one of those like in-your-face type of fills because it's been flushing all morning and waited patiently for this range. I think it's about a 30 or 40 cent range at the bottom that we're comfortable with, but I've started it here in front of that 50. It's going to be 10.55s for now. I'm just thankful because this is wanted to buy the dip. I could have been fooled into buying like 1080. I've made this mistake before. You guys have seen it. You saw it with XPeng yesterday, and you've seen it time and time again. You wait for the level that you want. Even if it starts to bail or start to bounce in front of it, just wait. The selling has come in. I'm now buying at 10.55. I'll try again in the quarters and see if it can hold. Brendo?
All right, clean energy name Gevo, G-E-V-O, 21%, guys, after earnings aftermarket yesterday. So trying to get back above some key areas here. This is 575. We are currently above that, but needs to hold up here, I feel, to continue for Gevo.
All right, guys, just a quick update on positions. Man, Square is moving fast. I didn't know Square moved this quickly. It was just at 206, and now it's right back to 205. Again, 202 is a stop on Square. I do like the position, so we're looking for 207.70. I was up almost $1 in the money like not too long ago, and here we are back to flat. So I guess that's how fast Square moves. That's fine. Futures, hanging around 50. That's okay, too. 41.35 is your stop. Anyone who already has a position, all you can do is manage. If you're looking for a new position, I'm not sure what you can do at this point. It's running into some sell-side activity, but we've already taken some profit along the way, so we do have to trail this one out and let it trade itself out of the way, and this could be something that kind of takes the rest of the day to complete. So let this one play out. That's all we can do. Looking for shorts around coin, around this area. We're looking for some hesitation, 267, 268, going out all the way up to 270 with 271 as your stop. So if we can get something, the shorts are on play, are on deck for that. See if we can get a play there. BNGO is not cooperating. After that 530 break, it's just coming right back down. That's fine though. 480s to stop on BNGO. We are looking for some support around these fives. That's the initial, that's the main reason why I took the 530 break there. So that position is there, and Square is coming off as well, and that's okay too. And futures in the money and kind of working itself. And I'm paying attention to coin, see if we can get something to slow down. Any ideas in the chat, just throw them in there. I'll take a look and see if we can take some more positions, because I'm not seeing anything else on board. And Neil's got...
I'm slapping myself in the face. And I'm taking a sip of my coffee because I'm like, and I actually put this one out on Twitter because Usually, like Bumble yesterday, no problems holding that short. Wish, no problems holding that short, even though we probably took that out too early. In this IHT, it's like, first off, I don't get back into the 9:30 rollover. Now, I can excuse myself for that because a lot of things happen. You're getting into new positions. I was trading Disney, blah, 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 blah. It's fine. You can only trade so many things at once, but this just died, and I mean, the second rollover I probably should have had off of 7 even. The third one down here at 666, I found no way to get back into this trade, and I'm holding absolutely nothing. 8 to 6, it is now negative on the session, so you can have a bias into a stock, you can talk about all you want, you can get in a position, but sometimes you have to find a way to hold it. I'm still holding DoorDash, of course, not the actual character from The Incredibles. Great movie, by the way. Speaking of that, I mean, that just sort of puts me into like thinking about like, whatever. We're not going to get into this nonsense about Nerdville. Dash is getting close to this 140, getting close to this like one sort of like 40 mark, which it gets to the upside. I don't think we get there today, which is going to bring me to 135. You look at those $5 ranges, now sometimes they're going to matter. We just got to 134.50 is the high of the day. I'm likely to take this off in front of that and just scalp off the $5. And then if it's going to make a push into that 140, there's a few ways you can play it. You can get back in on a bit of a break. That's one way to do it. The other way, which I tend to prefer, is to, you know what it is, it's going to be buying that little dip. So if we can buy the dip on Dash, I feel pretty comfortable doing that as well. Square, I didn't. You had mentioned sort of getting into Square, Rune. For me, I was sort of waiting around thinking that this little consolidation was going to get a push and I could get a better price at 03 half or so. That hasn't happened. We're essentially right at my price. We're sitting here consolidating. Kind of feels like it's going to, get off the pot, and we're going to miss a chance to take more shares. I'm still going to be patient because so far that's worked for me. So I'm still waiting for 03s. I have that gut feeling that could be the wrong call. Time for the small cap recap. I haven't traded enough. Let's go to Brennan.
Hey guys, yeah, lots to choose from so far this morning. Let's get right into a few. We mentioned BNGO. Rune looking at this as well, but I think the daily chart kind of tells the story here. Very, very weak overall for the past month or two to the downside. This is 550 we ended up kind of stalling out at this morning and then straight back down. As soon as it sliced through VWAP there, that was enough for me just on volume to take that short, 530 down to 5. So we're kind of bouncing along $5 even here. Still up nicely, though, on the day for BNGO. Fisker, yeah, that was positive news overall. Big move aftermarket, and then again this morning in the pre-market. This is 1170. It ends up topping out at, we got below 11 and held. So that retracement into 11, big sellers step up. They start, taking bids out again. Nice flush again down to 1040 for Fisker. And then, I was heading that IHT as well. 8. It was a bit of a level in the morning yesterday. And then 850, this thing's been struggling at for the past couple of days. So 8 ends up being the area that works today. Yeah, I mean, nice flush down to 6 here, but we're starting to get into some areas from late in the day yesterday for IHT. Guys, back to you.
All right, I'm looking at the chat. Some people pointed out Microsoft. Yeah, I see the chart. I like it. 248 is the break I'm looking for. I like the idea of using 248 break with a 246 stop. So we're going to wait for that one to play itself or set up and take a shot there. And Trader Joe, you're asking about futures trades. Absolutely. I've already taken some. So if you want to take a look at the bottom of your screen there, you'll see that I've got a long still at 41.31. That was, I've already taken profit in front of 40, in front of 45, and I've got some left. And that is about 22 points in the money. So for any futures trades, just take a look at the bottom, and they are down there. They show that I am already long. So how do you manage this? Again, 41.35 is your stop. You kind of got to let it go. Not a whole lot you can do if you've missed the boat. You haven't been able to take the trade. It was a pre-market move that I had taken at 41.31. So I was already in the position before the market opened. And here we are 20 points later, and all we can do is just let it work. DKNG, people were talking about Donkey Kong, or how you guys like to say Donkey Kong.
Yes,
Neil.
we do.
My issue with DKNG is that we're running into some resistance here all the way up at 44.80, 45, call it. It's been going fairly quickly. So at some point, you would think that some buying is going to burn up as we hit some sell-side resistance. So 45 is the level I'm going to mark off. See if we can get a short. If it slows down, I'm not going to just short it just because it's going up, but I want to see it slow down. If we can slow it down around 44, 44.20-ish. We're at 40 right now. If we can fall back to 20 or so, I might consider the possibility of taking a shot on the short side with the 80-cent stop at 45. But for now, it is upside potential, upside strength as well. And you can see how fast it is moving. Pretty much since 42.40 to 44.40, we've done that. It's a 5-minute bar, so we've done that in almost less than half an hour now. So couple ideas there. And for guys in the chat, thank you for pointing it out. So that kind of brings more things onto my table there to look at. What do you got, Neil?
Look, man, you always want more on your plate. I'm going to try to put plug power back into the radar here for me. I wish the short worked a little bit better on Wish, but that just broke that 905. So put that in the loss column for the short trade. That was so good yesterday. I mean, it fell so far. Plug breaking VWAP here, and it's going to be the next one that we're going to try to get into. We already had one good long. I anticipate it might try to make a lower high. It is worth noting. This is a bit of a fail. It's like 2 or 3 times, technically 3 times, that we've tested up towards 25.50. It makes me like to break out a little bit more, but you have to consider that it could be sliding back in. And if it ever takes out 24, I'll maybe turn to the bearish side of this trade. Until that happens, I'm looking to buy a higher low, call it like that 24, 20 to 30 range. So if that dips down, I want to look to pick up plug power. I did wait patiently for Fisker, and I have gotten into that one. It's basically flat, but it's LEDS that's now on the radar. It had that halt to the upside, opened back up on strength, then sells right back off. Now, you had that low off of the reopen, which was about 790 or so, and then you had the halt price of 775. And if it can't, like if it holds this level, fine, fair enough. I want to be shorting off that $9 range or so. But if we break the bottom, I'm going short through a 780 on LEDS. This stock was 625 yesterday. If you go even further than this, we had that bottom that it made even like at 560. There's lots of room to come back in. Yeah, it'd be great to short off that high, but if it does want to make a breakdown through that 780 level, I'll take it that way as well. I've stayed away from it for the time being. I wanted it to settle down, which is usually the case for some of these halt trades, but I can only stay away from it for so long before I have to try the short. So looking for that breakdown, guys, and then we're going to try to get into that position. Got to watch out for Disney, though. As good as Disney was early, it's now bounced off of VWAP. It's right back into that range. I'll probably try it a third time for the short trade. We had it off of that 72.50 to 73 area with that 74 stop. That's worked. Now we're short basically at 170, almost just above VWAP here, at 170.66, 65. It breaks twos, we'll take the $1.50 hit and look for a reentry up at the top, guys. So I like Disney still, but you have to be careful with it. Square is the other position, which I think we're both in. I mean, I could read this wrong. Come on. All right, I'll go to my 15 because that one just froze. It bounced, and I thought I was sitting here. No, I guess I must have missed that bit. I was in front of the 203. Got to like 203.60 or so, it does seem like. Now we're right back at the top end of the range. So it's gone $1 in the money, $1.50. I've scalped that out for the winner. Thought I'd be able to get a better price down around VWAP. That never really happened for me, but I like hanging on to this. I feel like if it breaks out, you got room into this 210 range. So we're staying long and strong with Square as the market heads to the upside. DoorDash, same thing. Those are two I do not want to take off at this point. If anything, I want to be adding. Brendan?
All right, another one trying to take back some key levels here. NIO, guys, having a nice day here. Almost 7% to the upside for NIO. We just got back above 33 and held, moving back towards day highs here. For NIO, they actually announced that they're going to open a lifestyle store, I heard, on Alibaba, their platform. So NIO selling lifestyle items too now.
All right. There was a super chat about a stock, EDSA. I took a look at it. I imagine you're in at some price. I just don't know where, regardless of where it is. If you're in, you got to wait. It's just gone sideways. So just be patient. If you're stuck in this trade anywhere, just wait. Not a whole lot you can do because this thing has done absolutely nothing going back to late April. So just be patient. If you got a position, just wait it out. That's all you can really do at that point. And here we are, Square. Coming back. Good bounce right off that support. That is the support, that initial support I was looking for, 204. 202 was a stop. I've got 205.03. And first target is 207.70. And given how fast this thing came down, we know it can get really aggressive if it decides to go. So 207.70 is your first target. Let it work. And what was the other one? Oh, DKNG. I'm looking for shorts. I was thinking 20, but I really looked at the chart. It's going to be 44 even. If we get underneath 44 even and actually kind of settle down there, I'm going to go ahead and take a short with 44 as your break point and 45 as your stop. So $1 risk on any shorts there. And what do we got? Futures at 55, approaching 55. Again, this takes time. You've taken your profit. If you've taken your profit, take some. But if you've got whatever you've got left, just let it go, because this takes time. This is how trading works sometimes. So if you can't get the quick moves, and most of the times you're not going to be able to, but a lot of the times you've got to play this one out, let it go. 35 is your trailing stop. That hasn't moved. So what can I do? I can find more trades. I've got Microsoft on deck. I've got DKNG. I was looking for a short below 44.
AMC just broke 14, guys.
There you go.
Sorry, not to interrupt. I apologize for the interruption there, Arun, but 14 even just broke. Now, this was a failed break in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, guys, at 14. It got to that 14.20 mark. I think if you got it, you got to be thinking about scalping something off in front of that 14.25. But I ended up getting 99.5 as a price because it got a little bit, it spiked up, got a little bit above it, and then just immediately a seller came in, and you're able to get some shares at like 97, 98, where it's hanging out now. This was on volume, this push to the upside. If this is the same failed break that it was before, I don't mind taking like those quick little risk like 15 or 20 cents. If it does come back, it tends to be a little bit harsh. This time though, I'm likely to reverse into a short trade. If it's going to fail a couple of times, first at this level, be a fantastic short, and then again at the other level in the afternoon, this will be a reversal for me through that 75 to 80 range. But AMC, another one, I've gone long again, but I'm not going to hesitate to reverse into this short if it breaks that 75, 80. Brendo?
All right, another one having a good day here. Upstart, guys. UPST up significantly, 13. Just broke 95 there, day highs. Not seeing anything significant on the news front. If you remember, we came back through 100 going back a couple of days ago on decent volume here following earnings. So Upstart trying to bounce a little bit as well. It's 10:30. That means there's an hour left in the session over in Europe. Miss V has been watching what's going on over in Europe. What's up, V?
Hey, Brendan, European shares are trading high as global markets rebound. Banco BPM trading in Italy is up more than 3% after Deutsche Bank upgraded stock to buy. Back to you.
Yeah, nice strong end. I was going to say start, but end to the week, guys, for all global markets.
All right, I'm going back to this AMC just because, man, the 14 break, we were looking at that area. We were looking at 1380 or so. The fact that it went through 14 so quickly makes me wonder if this was just a take on stops, because it was a hard sell when we broke last time. Yesterday around 2 o'clock, we got above, came right back down. We smashed all the way down to 1240. Now, the fact that we're getting back up there and we're not able to sustain any sort of movement or continue this momentum to stay above 14 makes me concerned on stop locations. So 1420, I imagine there's stops above there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep a close eye on AMC around 1420 because I want to see how many stops are going to get pushed on this. Because if this goes right through 1420, comes right back, it makes me think it's just a run on stops, not that big of a deal in terms of longs anyways. But it is something to keep an eye on to see what happens in that area. If you do decide to go long and it actually stabilizes after the break, I think you got to look at 1320 as your stop there. So we're going to wait this one. This is going to take some time. It's going to be a delicate operation on how this one plays out. So we're going to wait for this one to close. In the meantime, well, Microsoft is still stuck in that range between 240 and 246. That's what I'm looking for. DKNG is going back towards that 45. I'm looking for either a break of 44 or a break of 45. I'll flip the trade whichever direction we want to go. And Square is already in the money, about $1.30. So we're looking for 207.70. So we're looking for at least $2 and change, 260, 250, 260 in terms of profit per share. So we're going to let that one play itself out. And anyone who's still in futures, wait it out. That's all you can do.
Heza, I see you there. It's like a few times wanting to look at FSL. Look, I know it's up about like 9% today, and I'll get to Fisker and I'll get to DoorDash in a quick second. I have some updates on both of those names. Look at the pattern in yesterday in the pre-market. 1, 2, 3 times that it tested like 785. If I pull this, well, let's go to the 15. It's probably going to be a better look for you to be able to demonstrate this. And then 1, 2, 3 times it tested that level. Roll over off of 8, fail breaks all the way through on the 15-minute chart. And then you get that same thing at 825. It's put in these bottoms. And look at the drops each time it's had these rollovers. It's hard to look at this at 775 here with an 85 top, exactly where yesterday was, and kind of think that it's going to be, if you have profit from the bottom, I would be taking it here. And this is a setup for usually what I would be shorting, to be perfectly honest with you guys, off one of these levels. Now, I do have a couple of positions on, well, a few positions on, one of them that Disney, which I have to be concerned with. Got that AMC, so I don't want to necessarily add fuel cell to the list, but I'd be shorting off that 85 personally. You even have some cover at 825 if you wanted a bigger stop. Sorry, 8 to 825 if you wanted a bigger stop. And if you got any of these longs at 7, this is a great place to be taking profit. It's had hard rollovers each time, even when it tests it 3 or 4 times. Look at the pattern. It tends to be failing in the last few sessions. That's just the first look that I have there. So I wanted to get that in. I know you guys ask about a lot of symbols. We try to get to as many as possible. Clearly, the morning moves fast and the trading goes quickly as well. DoorDash, we will drop the cash. This is an oldie but a goodie, as it just sort of explodes out of everywhere. Now, I talked about that 13, wanted to be able to take some out there, 135. I took some out in front of 135. Looks like it's continuing this break without any kind of a pullback. I kind of thought we'd dip down in that level, maybe be able to buy like 31s, 32s, but DoorDash, a great long, is what I want out of Square as well. It's a couple of bucks in the money. I'm looking for that $5 move. See if we can't get that one into that 210 range. Brendo?
Sean took the day off on Grow Generations earnings day. So sadly, Sean, you're missing out on GRWG to the upside. Big mover here to 41. Volume coming in as we broke day highs there, guy. GRWG beat across the board. So decent look here for Grow Generations, guys.
Right, I was looking at the chat. Someone pointed out, Master of Beats actually pointed out, HD. Thank you for bringing that up because I like that chart. Here's what I'm looking at here. 322.50 break opens up the short side, 325 break to the upside. If we break down, then I'm going to use 325 as your stop. But for now, it's nothing. But now I can actually look at this and potentially set up a short side move. So thank you for bringing that up there. Square. Neil, you've got Square too, right?
Oh, you know it.
What's your price on that?
0429.
Okay, so you got a much better price than I did, damn. Okay, so 207.70 is my target. What do you have for targets, though?
I'm trying to get out above that level. I'm kind of like, I look at that level like you, and I'm sort of saying you can press into that 8s and 9s range, and hopefully you can get it. I don't have the score chart up because I was looking at DoorDash a second ago here, so apologies for that. But I'm more looking at that 09. I know we just turned around a little bit off of this 06, 07, but I look at that top from yesterday, where look, and the day before. I mean, you have also going into Wednesday in the afternoon, you had this 210, 211 where it turned around. So I kind of look at that area and want to get out in front of it as opposed to that 07, see if you can't stretch it a little bit. Now, this is your avenue, but the market's strong. Square wasn't really participating in any of the strength that we saw in yesterday's action. I kind of feel like hopefully today is that day, and at least getting back to yesterday's high seems pretty reasonable to me, given the market strength. I mean, Square was a $240 stock to end last week, right? So I don't think I'm asking too much for 209s here, hopefully.
Yeah, like sometimes you gotta separate your trades. That's a hard thing to do sometimes because like this morning, anyone who's watching early this morning, I was short Apple, but I was long the futures, even though Apple's a big part of the index. So like that position flattened itself out. I got out of it because I didn't like the movement, but sometimes you do have to do that. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense when you actually look at the idea, but the setup was there for me to do that, so I just went ahead and did that. In this case, Square set up long futures was setting up long too, so why not take a shot when both are looking in the same direction? Doesn't mean I won't take a short if it's set up, but at the same, at the same thing, at the same idea of it, I will go with the direction or against the direction, depending on how it sets up and my confidence in the setup. Again, it all depends on what your criteria is for trades, right? So if you have a concrete idea, write it down so you remember exactly what you need to take a trade. And for anyone who doesn't understand, I know Sean has sticky notes. For anyone who doesn't do this, these are my trades. This is not a sticky note. This is just the trades that I take on the futures that I write down because I log each and every one of my trades so I can actually make changes because the market changes too. So you do have to change your risk parameters and adjust things as you go. So the best way to do that is write your stuff down. Not necessarily journaling, I don't do that, but at the same time, I analyze each one of my trades and make sure that they are being executed the proper way. So anyone who doesn't do that, do that. Brandon?
Another earnings name, guys. IZEA worldwide was down big time this morning, but trying to get back to the upside here. They reported aftermarket yesterday, you can see, but big volume here trying to climb for IZEA, guys.
Oh, and trying not to climb. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's been trying to climb. Now trying to go to the downside is going to be that Disney. Been sitting in this one for a while. Now, it hasn't necessarily threatened that 172 area again. Been sitting in the middle of the range. That's basically my price right in the middle here. I just want to see it get back below like 170 or so. That's going to be that key price. Once it gets there, now I know I have a bid in front of the low of the day, that 169. I kind of want to slide something in the 69.50 range, but I want to see 70 break, see where it slows down, take some profit on in that range. I said AMC was going to be a flip. That's exactly what I've done. Now before, I only went long, right? So I went long, it didn't make the breakout. I said, forget about it. I didn't flip into a short trade. Clearly, I obviously should have done that with the break. In this particular case, I've elected to actually reverse the position because it just sort of felt like if it wasn't going to go, and we did have a failure both at the afternoon top, but also at that wick, which is like all the way up to 14.20. You have a fail break through that 14, which is exactly what happened in the afternoon. And that's the only reason I'm going to favor reversing into the short trade here. Square about $3 in the money, but you know, one of the other longs, and I'll be honest about this, we talk about this, I just got out of Dash, and we talked about extending that trade, and you like 7s and I like 9s on that square trade, Arun. But I should have hung on to DoorDash because I thought 135 would possibly give me another shot to get back into this long trade, whether it was a breakout, which I didn't catch, or a pullback, which I clearly also didn't catch either. We're headed towards that 140 target, and it's one of the things you always know. When I go back and look at the trades, don't just analyze what didn't work for you and try to improve on. A lot of times, as long as you followed your rules, you had your stops, the losses, you know, you kind of know what to do with those. It's these winning trades where you get out way too early, and I look at both the initial exits. Like this first one should have been up at about 132 or so, and this last one should have been holding through 135 or finding a way to get back in around that 132. Both those are mistakes. So winning trade, one of my best of the day, lots of ways it could have been better. You guys are going to a pretty green screen, well, upward screen, whatever you want to call it. It's actually blue. Let's see a sector watch with Brendan.
Yeah, it's weird. It's blue. This is the Reuters Icon platform, if anyone was wondering. But yeah, they show positive stocks on this board in blue for some strange reason. I don't know how to change it. 1% here for the overall market, guys, to the upside. It's energy stocks again today. We saw this a couple of days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. The entire group in positive territory, having a nice day back to the upside. MRO, Oxy, and Apache here leading the way. All about 5 to 7% to the upside. Financials also very strong. Industrials, we mentioned some of the travel names over here, UAL, AAL, and Dow, all up 4+% on the session. So airlines back to the upside. Far corner over there, really the only negativity I'm seeing right now. This is Disney down 4.4%. Fox here as well under pressure as a result. There's Facebook, Twitter, though, right below it. And the big one, Google, all up 2%, helping to offset. Here we go. All the cruise lines, NCLH, RCL, CCL, nicely positive. Penn National, MGM here as well. The hotels all in positive territory. So this group, the consumer discretionary group, leading the market higher so far. There are a few here that are negative. They were all earnings lows, not though to the downside, but anyways, 1.2%. Tech stocks as well, having a nice bounce back. We mentioned the NASDAQ, if you joined us at 10 o'clock, leading the way. STX, WDC here, the two big winners on the day. That's PayC, 4% as well. So looks like there's one negative stock in the entire tech group as a whole for the S&P. Everything else nicely higher, guys. A full 1.03%. Back over to you.
All right, just an update with Square. Just because it was slowing down, I know my target was 207.70. It started slowing down. I didn't like what was happening, so I took some out. 207.20 was my exit on some of the position there. So we're going to let the rest work itself out. I haven't moved the stop. Actually, I have moved the stop. It's just underneath 206 now. So we're sitting $1 and change underneath. We're going to make money on this trade, even if it comes about all the way back down. But I took some out just to bank some profit as we start to slow down around that 207 even though my stop is, or my exit point was 50 cents away from where I got out, sometimes you're not, like, you have to understand you're not going to be precise with your location. It's a general area. So if you start to see action slow down around that area, just walk away, change based on the conditions in front of you, and sometimes volume steps in way in front. And in this case, I'm okay walking away 50 cents in front. That helps me lock in some profit and lets me trade the rest of the position properly instead of worrying about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. DKNG, 45 broke. I looked at the chart. I'm not sure I want to continue with the long side on this. I guess I was more confident with the short than I was with the long, but the momentum is still carrying the DKNG. So anyone who wants to play the momentum side of this with 45, you can go ahead and take a long with 44 as a stop if you decide to do that. But just understand you can use 44 as your stop. HD is the one I'm looking at. This is breaking through 322.50. I'm looking for this to stay underneath 322.50. And if it does, I'm going to go ahead with a 325 stop. So that's a trade on deck. We've taken some profit here. Futures is kind of stalling out around 50. But again, I haven't touched the stop on this. It's still 41.35. So we'll let this one play itself out. That's all we can do at this point. What was it today?
Miss V?
Valeria, there you go. Valeria, what do you got?
Hey Arun, Tesla is back to the positive territory, up more than 3%. Do you guys think Tesla can break 560 level before the close today?
Well, I guess that means it broke 590. No, I'm only chuckling because that was a good level at 590. Look,
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple of things that have to happen because first things first, I mean, I'm looking at the NASDAQ hitting at 13.3, and as Rune's been talking about, a little bit of a pullback happening in the ES as well. So you have to be concerned with the market giving back a little here. I'd feel much more comfortable if it didn't get all the way back into 580, that you'd hit that possible 600 target. Maybe if we give a little bit of a consolidation at 585. But it was a good look, and sorry, I just have to get some shares out of AMC because that popped back up, failed at 14.20 again, so I jammed a few more shares into the short side of that trade. Have to make sure I manage that. If you're short AMC, got to take your profit that's in front of you guys, so we got to trade live here. I'm not going to get in at 590 after having missed the break. It would have given you that 250. Like I said, I think there's a shot at that 585 if it gives you some consolidation. Otherwise, I wouldn't make that bet of a 600 close if we're already breaking below VWAP before lunchtime. We got about an hour for that to happen. I had just mentioned AMC here, guys, and it tried to pop in. This is it. Tried to fail at that it's 14.20 because that's yesterday. 14.15 is a high. Second I saw it, it's like boom, hit some more shares in there on the way down, not on the way up. Trust me, that's what I got. And then I'll take a few out where I had that initial entry point, so we'll flat those. Still in the money, and I want to get 13.55, hopefully, down into VWAP. If this is a real failed break, I want to leave some on board for like a 13 to a 13.50 if that's a real failed break. So AMC, I tried being bullish twice on this stock to very, very muted to little or none to absolutely zero success. We'll see what happens with that short trade. I was asked in the chat about Fisker, where my target is going to be. I can quickly show you here. If it was moving, I'd be talking more about it. But Fisker at this bottom, which maybe means it's a good one. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, I added one time here when it popped down to like 50s or so. But it's doing nothing, going sideways. I have put an offer in around this where it's already bounced off of this like 1070, 1075 area once. If it breaks through, I want to take some out. If it gets closer to VWAP, I want to take some more out. I'm looking for a break back of 11. I like the fact that it consolidated where I wanted it to, but it needs to get going. The market made some moves to the upside in the meantime. I don't want this market reversing on me and Fisker's sitting on the low of the day, trying to reverse even more on this news. And keep in mind, okay, sure, they're going to be opening up that plant, but as I was saying in the opening of the show, I didn't see any breakdown as to how they're going to manage that $1 billion cost between Foxconn and Fisker. So I don't know which way that's going to lean, and if it leans too far, I mean, if the market feels that leans too far on their plate in terms of a capital expenditure, all of this could be given back potentially. You know what the chart looks like. And as I say that, this is exactly what I was afraid of. Fisker breaking through those lows of the day. So I want to give it a little bit more room than a couple of pennies through that low. But this is exactly what my concern was going to be, that you're sitting on the bottom, the market's going to turn around, and then we're going to have this trouble in Fisker, which couldn't get off of that low.
All right, couple updates with my positions. I've gotten myself into HG shorts here. I got 34, 322.34 is my short. 325 and change. I think just over 10. So I think 13 or so is my stop. Is it 13? Yeah, 325 and 13. And 325.13 is my trigger for my stop. So we'll keep an eye on that. Square is still flirting. Good thing I got some out here. 207.20 is where I got some out. We're starting to slow down a little bit. So my stop is now just underneath 206. And futures is coming back after taking a little break down to 45. Back to 50 we go. So again, 41.35 is my stop on this. We're going to let this one play itself out. And what was I looking at? PLTR, just because there's conversation in the chat about this. PLTR is a NASDAQ stock, it's a New York stock. 1950, I like the idea of a 1950 break. It takes out yesterday's high and some resistance from the previous day as well. So the idea of a 1950 break opens the door for a long with a 19 even stop. It's about 50 cents in risk, and we do have some upside potential. So towards 20 at least. So 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio at that point, so why not take a shot at it, right? So that's all we can do at this point as Square comes back, and I'm probably going to be getting out soon if it keeps coming down like this. Neil, are you, what are you doing with Square?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to celebrate because I got an apple fritter. I'm not going to eat it for you guys live because that would be a little bit disgusting, but I'm going to enjoy it. Thank you very much, Randy. You're the absolute man there, so you're off the hook, Arun. But I'm not celebrating necessarily this lack of follow through on AMC. Now, I've gotten into some more shares. It's put in some lower highs before off of 14. I got the one spike into 14.10. So watch out for that top break. I'm not quite stopped out of Fisker yet, but it got very, very close to hitting that 30 range. When it comes to Square, I'm getting, like you said, like you probably just said there, Arun, I'm assuming, I'm getting pretty close to saying, why am I not just walking? If the market rolls over here, do I really want to give away the $2 as Square comes back into that 205? I missed my shot to get more shares through 204. That's obviously come and gone here, guys. But I'm trying to be long and strong in this Square trade, and I kind of feel like the trend is with me. So I'm backing off. I've already scalped out a little bit too early. I didn't get the dip buy. I'm going to hang on to these shares at least till break even. Brendan?
A monster range on XPeng, if you remember yesterday, a couple of dollars worth anyways. It was mostly to the downside at the end of the day, but we're climbing back up here. Just took back 25 there. This high from yesterday, 26, guys. That 26 area coming into play possibly. But XPEV having another nice day, guys.
All right. So future short, no. HG short, that's coming back fairly strong now. So a bounce there, that's fine. 325 and change is your stop there. Square, I've set the stop just underneath 26. What do we got? PLTR, looking for that 50 break on PLTR. 1950 is the long I'm looking for. And futures, here we go, back towards a high. For anyone who's wondering, why do I trade the futures? It's for those kind of calls. I said it earlier today. I won't be the one buying you that fritter, but you will get it. He got it. This is why I trade the futures, because those are the calls I make. So how do you feel about there, Neil? How do you feel about that? You got your fritter, but I wasn't the one buying it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're doing there. What? So that's a dig? I mean, I got like, look, you didn't buy, but I got the fritter anyway, so I'm celebrating it. Look, Jada Ruler. I will ask Randy that question, but it is what it is. We'll get an answer from him on that. But Randy, do you smoke the good is the question that just got asked on the chat. It's up to you whether or not you want to answer it, so I'll leave that one to you, and we'll get you out in the chat if we get an answer from Randy there. I want to thank him for the fritter, obviously. We try to have a little fun around here. I have a sweet tooth. It is what it is, but like an apple fritter is the greatest pastry of all time. I really don't care what anyone says. It's kind of like pineapple on pizza. I appreciate everyone's opinions on most things, but in some they're irrelevant. And pineapple on pizza is disgusting, and apple fritter is the greatest of all time. I'm short leads, and I've waited for this trade, I'd say for a half an hour now. And look, of course, I'm yapping away. I'm trying to actually add to the position. Yapping away instead of adding to the position. Finally broke that 780. After the post halt, this was that bottom that it put in. It breaks. I got 770 to the south side. I think this has room to flush all the way back into 7 even. I'll probably take more shares if I can get them in 75 range. I'll take more if I can get them at 8 even. Here we go. Leads to the short, and watch out Disney. The second short could stop me out in about 30 cents or so. It is already time for Money Talks. Let's get to Brendan for the land of crypto and currencies.
We'll focus on currencies today because we had that retail sales number for the U.S. Out at 8:30 this morning. Big miss on that, so downside for the dollar index here again. We came down and bounced off this 90 area. This is a DXY, if anyone's wondering, the dollar index. So we came down, bounced off this 90 area going back a couple of days ago. But straight back southbound again for the dollar. So a lot of these going to be higher on that move today, including the euro, 0.5%. The Canadian dollar, another 0.5%, 82.6 now for the CAD. British pound, same story, about 0.3%. We're back above 140. We slipped below it yesterday. Both Australia and New Zealand here significantly higher as well. Turkish lira, the only one really big time move to the downside, 0.6%. Japanese yen, Swiss franc, both in negative territory as well. Ethereum leading the way. I highlighted it here because 10% versus 8% for Ripple. But Ethereum taking back 4,000. If you remember a couple days ago, we were at 4,500 and change, guys, for ETH. Back to you.
How's that apple fritter, Neil?
I haven't had any yet. Now, look, I was asked to eat it live so we can get some more likes. For the record, I'm just going to quickly show you, because as I was like tearing it open to get some of this, this is what happened on AMC. It popped to the upside. I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm getting into shares, short AMC as it breaks out the top, and like very, very quickly was able to get out of it. So actually cost me an extra couple of pennies there. It is what it is. It's what we do around here. So now that I'm out of that position, I don't really have too much to worry about. AMC's ripping. So all of the AMC bulls, you win, but I don't care. I got an apple fritter anyway, so I will eat it on the show for you guys live. I think it's kind of nasty to eat in front of you guys, but who cares?
While he's eating the apple fritter, I'm going to look at the chat and going, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing?
I have
Like,
coffee
how
to
can
go
you
with it,
guys
too.
say that you guys don't like pineapple on pizza? Like, come on, man. Like, you guys are missing out. Neil, especially you. I've known you for a long time, and you've always been like that. Enjoy that apple fritter, but pineapple on pizza, you guys
Better
got to
believe it,
try it.
buddy.
If you don't, just give it a shot. Like, I don't understand why you feel like that. But anyways, back
Now,
to
here's why I feel like it, Room, because I'm sitting here enjoying a fritter. I'm eating food right now. And you know darn well that I hate pineapple on pizza. And you're ruining my vibe. I don't want to talk about the most disgusting topping in pizza history while I'm enjoying something as fantastic as a Tim Hortons apple fritter. Now, Randy's with me. He knows pineapple is not something you put on a pizza. It's something you put in a pina colada or you have in a fruit salad, my friend. So,
You
look,
guys
I'm
have
not-
no taste buds. That's all I can say. We're gonna move on. We'll let this
honestly, if
topic
you
go.
couldn't whip my ass 10... Oh, anyways.
No, it's always. See, here's the thing. Neil,
You guys see what just happened to AMC? Oh, my goodness.
what happened to AMC? Let's take a look at that. Actually, trade for once.
I just got stopped out of the short to eat an
oh,
apple
damn.
fritter, and look what happened to AMC. And it just dropped like 30 cents, and it's 50 cents now on AMC.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So while he goes back to the apple fritter, PLTR, I call for the 1950 long. Here we are long. I got 1955. I was being really greedy with this as it was coming down towards 52, 53.
That legit sucks.
I didn't want to pay bids. Or I didn't want to pay. So the thing with our system with DTTW is that you can catch rebates if you provide liquidity, meaning sit passively. So I was looking to not pay the rebate while sitting and getting the fill instead of punching in and crossing in and getting the fill automatically. Because of that, I ended up not
Glad
being
you
able
guys
to
are
get
enjoying
52 or 53. I had to eventually get to 55 before I got that fill. But I am long 55, PLTR long with a 19 even stop. At Square, we got that one out. So 207.20 was the first exit, and 205.90 was the second exit. So here we are, fully out of Square. As we move on from that, HD just hanging around. Went all the way back up to 323, and here we are back down now. Well, not back down. We're coming down slightly. Futures bouncing around this 44, 45, back towards the highs. Again, 35 is your stop. If we can get into the 60s, I might consider moving the stop underneath 45. But we need to get to 60 first. There's a lot of activity. I can pull this back actually. You see. Actually, let me make this chart a little bit bigger. We'll go from the 5 to the 30. And you'll see if this thing loads. Here we go. You see what we're running into here, going into 60s. So we do have to clear all of this to actually get going. It seems like 60 is going to be a problem, 70 is going to be a problem. Maybe once we get above 70, we can get some movement, but there's a lot of congestion between 60 and 70. So if we can get into that, I'm going to start protecting this trade by moving the stop. But for now, though, 35 is still your stop on this trade. That's all we can do. I've got BNGO long, which is 3 cents out, PLTR long, which is 4 cents out, and HD, which is about 70 cents out, 80 cents out, and futures, which is about 23 points in the money. So that's all we can do at this point. Some trades take long, like I said at the beginning, right? So we're going to wait for this one to play out.
I got to say something here, and this is the last time I'm gonna complain about it. I'm not complaining about it. This is the last time I'll bring this one up. But obviously, it's not a really good idea to manage a position while having fun, while eating, whatnot. And I was probably, look, I was going to take that stop out when it broke that 1420. Now, the reason I'm really upset is when you get a failed break through that 1420 area, there was a potential reentry that I could have had on AMC, right? So it's not like I'm not holding through that top. It was never going to happen. But obviously, while eating a tasty pastry is not the best time to like throw it down and then punch into position. So I would rather miss a trade than try and bungle my way through what just happened there. So I was willing to do it. I had my stop. It got me out. I'm just joking around. But it's just, I find it funny that there was a shot to get back in like seconds after. It is what it is. I just got stopped out of that. Oh, Disney finally broke to the upside. So first short good. I mean, it comes all the way from like 72 all the way down to like 69. And then I get back in essentially an average price of view op. Should have waited for the top. I mean, it is what it is. It's now broken 172. I still think this is a dog today, so I'll probably wait around for that 173 that we had before to get back into the trade. Square, I don't know. It doesn't really. So I mean, this is your thing, Arun.
Yeah.
But I look at the market. It's still pushing towards those highs. So I'm not really all that worried about the continuation. Why am I still looking at Disney? That continuation in Square, it's now bouncing off of 05s, and this is one of the things, like you got that 04 break. Could I have hunted for 04 as a reentry instead of back at 03? It is what it is. I'll look back on that one when I'm going over my trades, in the afternoon or on the weekend. But I kind of feel like the trend is still going. I still got the offer at a 209. This one still feels pretty good. I still want to be on the south side of this leads, whatever you want to call it. I'll say leads because I don't want to say leads. I'm a Liverpool guy. So it's still heading to the downside. If it had popped a little closer to VWAP, I would have added one more time, but all my shorts have been at that 770 range. So still short 770. You got to watch out. A stock that goes limit up and does a $6 to $8 move in the morning, it always has that potential to do it again. So as much as it's already failed back in, and we're talking about what, the last couple of sessions, even bigger parabolic moves, I like the short side of the trade, but in the back of your mind, you've got to know that if it breaks through that 8 convincingly, you could be staring at 9.50 in a hurry. I don't want to lose more than like 50 or 60 cents on this trade, so I want to make sure I have a hard stop at around that 8.25. And that's a situation where there's no area stop. I'm not manually punching out of this one, trust me. In this particular case, I want to make sure the system can get me out because I don't want it halting upside and I'm caught short at the low of the day. That's really, really dangerous, and if it breaks 9 and halts upside, it could be opening at like 10.50. So I am willing to risk that 50 pennies, but not much more than that, guys. So I'm going to have a hard stop on LEDS.
Yeah, I agree with you. Square still has potential to the upside. I just didn't want to hold anymore. I got my first exit out there, and I just want to trail it. To be honest, it can come down to, so we can catch it again around 204.50 or so. So for me, a Square is not that big of a deal for me to get out completely. But the trade that I do like, and this is the one, this is exactly what I was pointing out earlier with AMC. I was wondering how much was going to be in terms of stops above 14.20. The answer is pretty clear at this point. You got it all the way up to 35. The stock is fairly thick too, so there's a decent amount of volume that pushed out. So for me now, with the way that AMC just snapped through that 14.20, I'm looking at 13.75. If we can get underneath, that kind of activates a short automatically for me. So I'm looking for 13.75 shorts with whatever the high is. If it's going to be 35, then I'm going to push my stop to 14.50 and see if we can get a trade there. 75 cents in risk, but given how much space this stock has to move to the downside especially, I think that's the key here. It was a stop location, the amount of stops I was wondering, given how much action we were getting around this 14 even level with 14.20 as the high from yesterday, and we got our answer. So if this now will dictate how this trade plays out. If we continue going up, then I think you're getting enough buying to actually sustain the move on the breakthrough. But if it comes down now, that was just a run on stops. Here we are looking for 12.80 on the downside if we get that trade. Now, PLTR is just going sideways. Again, I got 19.55, that's fine. HD coming back through 323. Again, I got 322.34. And Square, I'm fully out of. Neil, what are you going to do with Square? I'm curious on how you're going to take profit, or if you're taking profit on Square.
I'm still I'm still staying long and strong with this one for now. It's starting to get to that time of day where I kind of have to think about changing my mind. But because I got that 04 entry, I'm kind of getting locked into thinking it still has another leg, and the market is holding up, which I like. So I'm not going to change the plan just yet, but in the back of my mind, I keep going back to it and thinking, why don't I just take that buck or two where I can get it? But I'm not at that point yet. I still think you can hit that target. I want to come to a couple of things, and we always say, like, make sure you're paying attention from the beginning of the show. We come on at 8:30 so we can go over some levels for you. We're not going to get to every single trade, and I probably mentioned to you that, and I think Arun probably said it too, like BNGO a couple of times. I never got into this trade. Arun's got bingo. The one thing I liked was I'm like 5 is like your bull above that price. It actually tested 5. I didn't even notice that this happened. It ticked 4.99 and then boom to the upside there. So that's probably a really big missed opportunity for me. I have to go back and look at that and say that's a big miss. I should have had that one 100% off that $5. We show you the winners, losers, and the draws or the missed opportunities. That was a big one in bingo, which could be bouncing off VWAP and heading to fresh highs, up 20%. Very, very strong stock on the day.
Yeah, BNGO, right?
Yeah.
I had that one for a while now. Finally, it's at least it came back for a bit anyways. Oh, we'll go over this. Brendan, what do you got?
I'm just going to mention this Magna chip semiconductor just got kind of smoked here. 2280 was support there, but it just fell about $1.50. So just checking on MX, guys, moving lower.
All right, back to futures, guys. I've actually made a decision on futures. I've taken profit here. I got it 52.75. I'm closing out my positions. I'm walking away. At this point, given how much resistance we're getting, already at a resistance area, and the fact that I can't move my stop, it's still got to be 35. It doesn't make sense at this point. Like at some point, you got to make the call. I don't want to get out, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense to hold it because the stop is so far away and we're already at a resistance point. So at this point, just take your profit and walk, right? We took profit along the way. We let it move around, and it's clearly getting some sort of overhead that is running into. So just walk away, take your profit, run. And that's what I'm doing on the futures. I've closed out my position on the futures. So back here, back to Square, PLTR, and HD. No, not even Square. It's PLTR, HD, and BNGO. And that's all we can do. Wait. At this point, I'm looking for more trades. So if anything pops up, just put it in the chat there.
I'm starting to think about coin, but look, actually, you just tweeted this out. It's kind of weird. But sometimes you take hits. Coin's been my best stock all week long. Yesterday obviously was. I think yesterday was an outlier. You're going to get shorts like Bumble and of course Wish. If we're talking about sort of like your everyday stocks that you might trade on a closer to everyday basis, Coinbase has been fantastic for me both in the morning and the afternoon show. Now, today 2 hits, but they're both relatively tight stops, and each time I could have gotten sort of stubborn about it and then lost even more. But you have your levels. They don't hold, you just get out of it. I like it here. Now, the market's trying to hold up. Obviously, Coinbase is selling back off, but this is a bit of a negative to positive story where we're back to flat on the session. It feels to me that if we can hold this 260, 261, we're probably going to try to be in that green zone, which is 265. So playing within that range gives you 2 opportunities, 61 to like 64, which that $5 range thing has always been pretty good. You take inside like 2 or 3. I like that. And then if you can hang on to some to test that 270 area, maybe hold on to a piece for the entirety of the afternoon. That's another way that you can play that. Another one that I'm watching here, and it's always going to happen to you, that Fisker. I waited for it. I made the bottom wick on, close. It's close. I got 29s out on Fisker, and the low is 28. This could be the turn, and it just got me out. I patiently waited for it. The only good thing I can say about that long trade is I wasn't long at 70s and 80s all the way down. I only took the longs right at that 50 level, and then was able to risk what I wanted to on the trade. So that one's going to be okay. Have to go back over to, if I can for a quick second, that DoorDash. Yeah, it is what it hit 140, it broke 140, now it's coming back in. If this had been like a small cap parabolic mover or whatever, I'd be always looking at this type of a setup. Like it breaks through a key level like that, the 140, can't extend through, consolidates below, I want to be shorting it. This isn't that different, to be honest with you. The only difference I would say is you got to be very, very careful about how you get in. I'm not going to short a breakdown at 137 because on DoorDash you could be paying an extra 50 cents and then your risk to reward gets kind of skewed. I want it to be a relatively tight stop, which means I have to get it somewhere on the offer, and I only want to give it to like 139 or so, not that 140. So it's a careful entry here. I might just throw something above 138 to hopefully risk only $1 on this trade. It's a little bit nimble, not giving it to the high of the day. I want to be careful with any short in DoorDash today because I'm kind of bullish on it.
Yeah, I'm looking at BNGO. I'm kind of analyzing what's going on here, and I'm not a fan of the action. around my entry point. I got 533 long, and there's a lot more resistance up here than I initially thought. So I'm going to look to walk away from this trade with a small loss, maybe 4 cents or so. I'm trying to offer some in front of this 30 and see if we can't get out of this trade. I don't want to hold on to this anymore. I don't want to give it the 50-cent risk that I initially wanted to. Brendan, what do you got?
Co-Diagnostics, CODX, popped up a couple of times today after earnings as well. They reported aftermarket yesterday. Volume a little light, to say the least, on this, but trending anyways to the upside, guys, for CODX.
I know you, CODX, Codex. I don't know. I try not to make too many nerdy references, but if anybody knows where the Codex is from and what horrible movie that is from, throw it in the chat. I feel like only nerds like me are going to know it. I'm trying to get this short in DoorDash, and I see a couple. Fred Q asking about Carnival short. You know, this is pretty bad, and of course we're going to talk about the the reopen trade and sort of like the CDC there with sort of releasing the rules when it comes to the masks. And then you look at Carnival, probably an obvious long today, but you get this tiny rollover happening. You're asking your thoughts on a CCL short. Do I necessarily want to get into DoorDash, CCL, and LEDS, which I got to the short side already? Yeah, probably. So if it breaks like 26.60, I'd be looking for it that way. This is actually a very similar setup to DoorDash. Only DoorDash has a bigger spike to the upside. They trade very differently. So you're not likely to ever see the kind of like quick spike up and slam back down, which looks like an L shape at the top end of the move. You'll never see that on Carnival. You'll see that on a stock like DoorDash or an Airbnb or something a little more thin like a C3 AI. So you don't really mind this. It's already shown that there's some selling coming into it. Now, obviously, you're finding a little bit of buy action come into the stock at this particular price. I see nothing obvious on level 2. You know, the volume is starting to taper off a little bit, but holding up rather nicely. It's probably more of a scalp trade through a 26.60 break, where you're looking to make sure you take 15 to 20 cents profit all the way down to this 30 to 35 area. Market is trying to be green on this particular day, and as I say that, it's square. Look, I keep saying I'm holding out for this square trade. Sometimes you gotta draw a line in the sand. Oh shit, there's a key for that. I can't find it. Sometimes you just have to hammer down on the trade. I'm changing the line because like I have to use what's on the board in front of me. Sometimes you have to change the tone here. Now I'm right back at that 205. We're basing out. If I actually want to move my stop to break even instead of letting it go through VWAP, it's not a horrible idea to just say to myself, okay, I can give myself one shot that if we can bounce off here at 05s, I can take a few more shares into the long side and then see if we can't tighten up the stop a little bit. And then that way, it gives me the flexibility to say, okay, those shares I can get out in front of like 6.5 if there's any kind of a move. The market's still going to the upside here. The trend is still pretty good. I have to like it, but it's a bit ridiculous to be doing nothing with this trade. You're right about that, Arun. I probably should have made this decision $2 ago.
I mean, there's a lot. You have a lot more positions on the board than I do. So
not anymore.
Sometimes it's like, for me, I'm just looking at this, right? So I kind of, take whatever you can handle, right? That's the thing too. Like if you are taking or you're seeing way too many opportunities, you probably need to refine your strategy a little bit because it's hard to manage all these positions, right? So for me, I try to cap it around 4 or 5 positions, and then the futures, which I always keep an eye on. So nothing more than that. I think anything more than that, I think you definitely need to refine your approaches. BNGO, I just walked away. It took a 4-cent hit. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. There's way too much resistance to justify a 50-cent risk profile on this trade, so I'm okay. If this goes, it goes, but I'm okay not being part of that. I'm still looking at AMC. AMC is still flirting with 14. I'm still waiting for 13.75 to break. If we can get that breakthrough, then again, shorts with the stop at 14.50. If that happens, if it doesn't, that's fine. Futures, 55. Again, I didn't want to get out, but it doesn't make sense to keep holding given the stop can't move. So why not just walk away? If you guys are watching the afternoon show, come back and watch the afternoon show. I'm sure there's going to be a setup that I'm going to take at some point. Given how the day's been going, there's bound to be another trade later in the day. And HD just keeps on going up. That one's out of the money as well, $1.50 or so. But again, 325 is the stop. This might take some time as well to actually do what I need it to do, which is eventually catch some offers and start working its way back down. But for now, I've got my eyes on coin. I marked off 371 Turns out it was around there, not precise. Given the stock is like $200 and very thin, around that area is good enough. So clearly 271.60 something or 70 something is where the high is. We are backing off again. So now I'm looking for it to go back to 268, slow down. I'll use 270, whatever the high is here as a stop. So the trade is still there. The levels slip a little bit. You have to understand too, when you mark off levels, you're not marking off an exact level. You're marking off a general area and the conditions attached to that area. So if you start to see selling in the general area, like I did with Square, remember, I walked away from Square because there was some selling about 50 cents away from where I wanted to get out. That's good enough for me. So same thing with coin here. If we can get some selling in front of 268, this level is close enough for me for that 271 stop. That's still in play. Shorts are still possibly available if we can get that set up. Brendan, what's up?
Just double checking on Hire Car, HYRE, reported Q1 revenue here that beat expectations by quite some margin, to be in fact 41% on this thing for the day. $13, a bit of a problem so far, which is kind of getting back into daily chart levels, but huge move here for Hire Car, guys.
My question is, does Randy know them? But I want to get to the super chat. Thank you, Cincinnati Video Guru, asking about Disney. Look, I stopped out of Disney as well. I'm not getting back into this thing just yet. I mean, let's go to a higher time frame just to get an idea. You know, I'm looking at that like 174, which originally, you talked about yesterday, that bottom in the morning, guys, and you look at that 174, and that was going to be the ultimate sort of stop out zone for me. And we only got a piece in an original short, which flushed, second short, no good. So I'm starting to think about, okay, if it presses and makes a fresh high here, is it going to try to break out through the morning range top, which is 173, you know, in a quarter, well, a little bit higher than that. It breaks through that range, tries to extend through, can't get through that bottom of yesterday at 74. That's the short that I'm waiting for. And this is the time of day you only want to put those better trades on, or the trades that you really like. So if I'm waiting around, I think patience is a virtue there. Thank you, guys. 1,500 likes. Always good to see Ms. V, I guess, moonwalk across the stage there. It's always a fun one. I don't know why we can't get to 2,000. I mean, Arun is like breaking it down like an absolute champion over here. And I lost money while eating an apple fritter, but it was a tasty apple fritter. So I did enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for that. Thank you, Randy, for that. I do want to go. I do want to go back over just to go over some of the positions I have. I still have LEDs on, and I keep typing NZ. There you go. There it goes. I mean, there it goes. I mean, eventually it goes there, Randy. It's all good. Look, you get this consolidation from a couple of days ago. That's one of the reasons you like this breakdown. The primary reason why I took this short is you get that post-halt price action, you get that floor and it's broken. I probably should have had some, like, I would have probably added more so above that $8 range as opposed to below it, but you know, I could have had a chance to get some more shares into it. I didn't do that, but it is starting to flush to the downside. Now, obviously, if I want to risk like 40 or 50 cents on this trade, maybe 50 on the top end, I got to be thinking about getting out, and some in front of 7. I look more towards this cluster at the open. Like this stock opened up at like 614, ramped up, turned around at $7, pulled back into like 665. So that 665 to 7 range, that's my ultimate target. I want to be out a bunch in front of 7s, and then I want to look at that bottom end target to be flat. So I should probably have bids out, which is kind of stupid because these stocks can move very, very quickly at times. I'll get a few out in front of that 7 even. And then of course I like that target down into that 665 to 7 range. If it gets there, I want to have bids out in front. I'll just look to see where it stops and then go from there. I finally, and this is kind of like, I'll throw the assist to you, Arun, like I was Wayne Gretzky, the greatest assist man of all time. Finally, actually did you-know-what, or got off the pot with the square position. It's all well and good to sit there and hold it, but what I should have done back here when it got to 204 instead of waiting for 203 was just get some more shares in, you know, take some shares off at the top. This time we do buy the dip a little bit, we scalp some out, and then it makes a little bit more sense that we're holding in for the potential break, right? It's all about managing the position. Now, you kind of said this, this is obviously true, Arun. The real reason why I think, and it's not to blame anything, it's just the real reason why I probably didn't make that ad there is you end up trading other things. Now, I never mind in a particular situation. If I have a stock which is like I'm buying and holding for a longer term, you're trying to get a bigger move out of it, you've got your stop, it's still in the trend. Sometimes it's those short positions that I'm hanging on to all day long. In this particular case, it happens to be long. If I got one of those on, and then I see an opportunity for one of those big time high flyers where I'm jamming a reversal on a big time reversal like an AMC where that's going to have my attention, I don't mind missing a reload on something I just wanted to hold anyways. That's just par for the course. You're never going to really be trading multiple symbols at the same time without giving something up. Nothing in the world is free. If you trade more symbols, you miss chances at reloads like this because even though I see it, I might not have that second to really analyze whether I want to do it and the ramifications of how I want to adjust my strategy. You got to be able to think about it. And if I don't, then I'm not going to put the trade on, even though it was there. Brendan?
If only apple fritters were free. That would be a problem, I think.
You better believe it.
IHT, I just noticed bouncing back up here. You can see volume coming back in here for IHT. Remember we said 8 and then 850 above us, but volume coming in again to IHT, guys.
That one was good.
You know, what's funny is that I totally forgot about this position until I looked at the chat. Everyone's cheering on PLTR, Palantir. And then I realized, I'm like, oh yeah, I have some too. So I'm a part of that rally as well. I've got 1955. Here we are at 70, looking for 20. Risk on this was 50 cents, so at least try to get it to 20 with 50 cents, 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio on that trade. I'm still trying to get some shorts on coin. I wanted to get to 268 and kind of slow down a little bit, but every time it gets there, this thing is so fast and so thin that it just gets there and turns without actually trading there, which is what I needed to do if I'm going to take that kind of risk on that trade. So waiting on coin to set up some sort of a trade, waiting on Palantir to keep on going towards 20, waiting on HD to finally turn around because it's at 324 now. And futures, of course, is rubbing it in my face for me getting out and taking profit. It's going to 41.58. Again, we're in such a dangerous area where if the futures decides to come off, it'll come off very quickly. And since my stop couldn't move, that's why I got out. I might be missing quite a bit on this move. If this kind of grinds its way right through all the resistance, there's no way back in, and you just kind of cut yourself short on that trade. But sometimes you got to make that decision and just be aware that there's nothing wrong with making a decision like that where you decide to walk away. So just be aware that sometimes you will have to make tough decisions on trades. Instead of holding them or looking for the big shot, you do have to walk away. And BNGO, it is now back towards 540. I still don't want it. I got out, took the 4-cent hit. I just don't like the action. It might actually go, but again, I just don't like the action around here, so I'll just stay away from this. You still have BNGO, right there, Neil?
I never got, so what I was getting at with BNGO was at the particular time when it bounced off of that 5, and look, it's candid. Like I said, you guys can watch the beginning, and if you were here from 8:30, I was like, the only thing I liked about Bingo was like if it holds that 5 even for a long, and it did. I just wasn't there for the trade because I was trading a couple of things at the same time, and you miss an entry point in that way. It is what it is. It was a good level, but you got to be able to execute the trade as well, and that's sort of it. You have to prioritize which trades you like the most, and I even said that it wasn't at the top of my list. One that was, only 10 minutes to go here, guys, and I see you, Ken H. I might be one and done trying to short dash. I mean, I tried it off that 38 level. It broke 39. I know it's a tight stop, and you're able to make like $5, $6 moves, maybe even 10 if you hung on to it before. But for the short, I didn't like it. So it's one and done for me there. I'm looking at IHT now. I think Brendan just brought that one up. It was a great short off of that 780 area. You allowed it to fail at 810, allowed it to consolidate. I should have had it at 830. 830. At 930 when it opened back up, it tested the same level. Wasn't able to get there fast enough to be able to catch that same price. But once it holds that stop, you're usually looking for that entry point when it fails at 8 o'clock. It's right at that same price, but this is a volume spike that came in here, so you got to be at least a little bit careful. You want to be giving this usually to about the same levels as before, that 810 area to the top. If you're not willing to risk it to that, it's a lower percentage. Well, it's like yapping away here. It's a lower percentage play, and as I say that, of course, you get the 60 short, which I should have just punched into the short trade and maybe caught it here, but it looks like it's trying to go back into VWAP. I think if it bounces here, because it was a big sell that just came in at down to 730, this guy just popped up. Only about 4,000 shares left, and it just got chewed up at 50. But that was a bigger order that just came through that popped it back up to that 5.0. If that ends up pushing it back up to 770, 780, I think you really only want the price right close to that 810 because that probably should have flushed it back into VWAP or had that move continue rather than just consolidate here. So I like the setup. I was just a little bit too slow to it. Brennan, great and fantastic call to bring up IHT. Another one that I want to round back into, I still hang on to it. I still like E to the short side. But just because a lot of times if I'm in a stock, it's like an $8 stock and it's in the money, like 20 cents, I probably have already taken some out. I just want to let you, like LEDs is a bit of a different story. I know it's slowing down a little bit, but you look at the top end of that range from where it was holding, that 780, and I'm not going to give it, I'm not talking to like 920. I'm talking about the dollar range here, like that 110 area. You look at that to the downside, that 770 into 660. Now remember I talked about that first initial push at the open, where was the pullback, 665? So basically you're getting that range on both sides of that little pivot point where I shorted. So if I'm going to be taking shares out, I don't really consider a winner unless it gets down to the bottom end of that range. But I'm risking half of that move to capture more than 25 cents. So it's one of those situations where I know that going into the trade, you got to make sure you get your price. You should know what you're looking for in terms of profitability before you set a stop, before you know where you're going to be wrong. I'm very thankful that I got out of that Fisker. I'm still waiting for Tesla to do something here. We thought maybe this was going to be a good one. It broke 590, did absolutely nothing. It's now hanging out in like an $8 or $9 range. Good that it's above VWAP. Maybe the second time it breaks 590, Jeroen, is going to be the actual time that it's a charm.
Yeah, I was looking in the chat. Someone asked a very good question. It's like, well, if it broke on the futures here, if it broke above 56, can't you just get long and put the stop below that little break point? On the short-term chart, on the 5-minute chart you're looking at here, yeah, you can try to do that. But I try to kind of take a bigger picture look of things. And for me, that would be if I take 56 or 57 and I try to use 52 as my stop, I still got to put up 4 or 5 points. 4 or 5 points can be really expensive if you've got a ton of contracts on. So if I decide to take a position, I've got to be confident in that position. And me going long with a 5-point risk inside of a sell zone or a big congestion area, I don't like the odds of that. I may miss out, yes, but I don't like the odds of it. So that's why I didn't take the break, or I didn't wait for a pullback. Sorry, I didn't wait for the breakout to take the long or the re-enter on the long. It's just one of those things that you got to do. Everyone trades differently. My approach is that each one of my trades, I've got to be confident in the same way. There's no half, 50% confident, 100% confident on my futures trades. My stock trades, yes, but my futures trades, I've got to be 100% confident in my reads and my entries because there's very little margin for error on that. So I just, if I can't walk away from it, then I'll analyze it even further. If I can, in this case, I was able to kind of just walk away and avoid this whole situation or a mess with this sell zone. So I just walked away and took my money. But AMC is still stalling. We're waiting for that 1375 break to take the short. And PLTR, we're looking for that, well, 20 is what we're looking for. It seems like it's spiking. Wow, okay. 20 is the target. We'll see how this one plays out. This is definitely going to be something that's going to be in trail. I'm going to be trailing this and see what we can do towards 20. But for now, nothing has changed with PLTR. And we're going to leave the stop as is. 19 even is a stop on PLTR. And HD finally turning around after taking a ride all the way up to mid 324s, coming back to 323.50. Again, I'm short at 322.34, but I am looking for that breakdown. Maybe we get in the afternoon. Who knows? We've got another 5 minutes before we close out the morning show, and we'll be here in the afternoon. So come back. We'll see what we do with the futures in the afternoon show.
I feel like I almost just want to come back and like sit and just watch Arun trade for 45 minutes. I sort of kid. I've been watching Arun trade a long time. I saw a good comment in the chat there. How it's impressive that Arun will trade the futures and stocks very differently. And what I will say is this: I have not really met anybody who really successfully is able to do both, because it does require switching gears very effectively. It would be kind of like playing a couple of poker tables, but in totally different games with totally different speeds. Like it's just not everyone has that kind of a skill. I've ignored a firm today, which kind of is stupid, but just to point out, a firm here is getting above like this 52 area. This is a good level if a firm can hold this. And it's been a dog for quite some time here. There's a good level on a firm if it can hold this throughout the day. If we close above that, I've been looking for a place to maybe pick some shares up on this name. I like it above this 42. Gotta close above. Let's finish the day strong. Brendo?
Yeah, finish the day strong. We'll do that at 3:15 this afternoon. Make sure you come back and join us for the last 45 minutes of the trading week. It's Friday, right? We have some earnings to show you. We're past most of the big names this earnings season, but this is going to be mostly before the open on Monday, guys, for earnings?
So basically, Lordstown. I saw IBIO there for a split second when you guys allowed us to see it. Now I can't see it. I'm just messing with you guys. Yeah, there isn't a heck of a lot that's going to be on that. Clover. Lordstown's going to be the big one. You've seen what's happened to some of these EV names and the volatility that comes into them and how they tend to be sold off a little bit. So that's going to be the one that's on my radar. And we'll get your thoughts in a quick second, Arun, but there's some people asking about AMC. AMC's in this tight range at the top. We had a lot of fun when I got stopped out, but I didn't make top wick. This is somebody else that got it at 14.33. My out was at 14.23 here at the top, so that's not too bad. It's still making a strong pattern. This broke out in a big way in the afternoon. You look, this is a top at 10.40. It tested it again at 11.45 just after we were on air, and then it broke out in a big way through that price and finding support at that same like 12.30 area. So if the same pattern were to happen here, I'd watch out, and this is all $2 lower, but I'd watch out for a breakout at 14.33, or 35 or so. That could possibly happen at like 1, 2 o'clock. But you see these stocks get ramped. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. If it holds VWAP, all kinds of a breakout potential through that 35 price. Got to get through 50 as well, so you have to hold some risk. Maybe it's an add at 14.50. Lots of things to consider. I know we got to do what National Day it is, but I kind of feel like it already is National Fritter Day, but that's just me. Let's go to Miss V to find out what it is. It's not, but it should be.
Oh yeah, Neil, we need to stick to official list of national days. So hey guys, it was an exciting week. Thank you very much for spending it with us. I wish you a wonderful weekend, rest well. Come back on Monday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, but also we'll be back today at 3:15 p.m. to trade the close and summarize this trading week. Happy National Buttermilk Biscuit Day, everyone.
Buttermilk biscuits? Oh yeah, I'm a fan of those. Those they're very bad for you, but they're so good though. Oh man, especially the ones from Popeyes. I don't know if Neil, how do you feel about the Popeyes biscuits?
Well, you gotta ask me about Popeyes. Okay, first of all,
that was just a straight up question.
First of all, I love it. I'm probably a little gravy in there. Look, I mean, a good biscuit. Although my preference. And my wife isn't watching, but like she makes an absolutely fantastic biscuits, and it's like I don't need to put anything, just butter. That's it. Just slather the butter on it. That's all I need. It's actually too good, almost. Like I'll eat way too many of them. And we always put you on the spot here, Brendan, because I don't know whether you like biscuits or not, but I feel like you usually have your own like, this is my recipe, or this is what I put on it that no one else does. So what's your take? No?
I mean, it's hard to say no. Warm, right out of the oven. How do you say no? Gotta be warm. Butter. Come on.
Someone in the chat just mentioned Red Lobster biscuits too. Those are so good. You can get frozen ones at Costco, I think. Yeah, I think so. You can get them at the grocery store, but the ones, they're all frozen really. But for some reason, they just taste better at the restaurant. Why, I don't know. But maybe it's just a mental thing. But those are really good too. Popeyes and Red Lobster biscuits, go for it.
I got no complaint. I can't disagree with any of that. But yeah, you don't want these things frozen. You got to have it fresh. The show is fresh, so fresh and so clean every single day. Guys, we're back at 3:15 for the close. You get to see Arun trade the futures at the close. I get to see it. You all get to see it. We're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a fantastic one. It's been a fun one. Wherever you are, Sean, have a fantastic weekend. We'll do one more bang because Palantir continues to look very, very strong today. And Arun remembers that he has the position in it. Who forgets that they have a position? Anyways, for the entire team, Miss V in the purple should be green, and we're green. For Arun, for Brendan Wickens, I'm Neil Roberts. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Trader TV Live. We'll see you at 3:15 for the close, guys.
Bye, guys.